Can you say the thing about preferring small structures again?
Why do you want to not be the person that does that stuff? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the NBA Deeper Dive. It is Wednesday, December 13th. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Adam Scherer, and we're brought to you by Underdog. 9-game slate ahead of us. We got a little bit of news. Some of it I didn't expect. Some of it just came out recently. Josh Richardson's got a headache. I wish they would put migraine because headache feels like not the right designation, but maybe it's not a migraine. Maybe it really is a headache. Anyway, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. Adam, what's up?
Yeah, not much. Got a little bit of a different slate, but still waiting on news that we've been waiting on all day.
Yeah, I didn't expect Bradley Beal to be playing. I know you didn't either, but here we are.
No,
Bradley
Josh
Beal
Richardson
playing
came
on
out of nowhere for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, that's going to matter too, which, or at least I think it is, which is going to be not ideal. But we're going to get into that and everything else as we move. We know the worst part of all of this is going to come at what I would imagine to be right around 7:30 when we get whatever the truth is for the Lakers, because that is the big news that we are waiting on. And all they did was throw a bunch of Q tags on everybody. AD being questionable is interesting because he is generally probable every time, but
he was questionable yesterday for what it's worth.
Oh, even better. Even better. I'm going to hate it, but you ready?
Yes. Ish.
Alrighty. The Philadelphia 76ers are 12-point underdogs. I'm just kidding. No one's an underdog to the Pistons. They're 12-point favorites in Detroit, 233 total, and they're at full strength. Everybody that's normally available is available, and there is no ownership coming in to this team. 3% to Embiid, 3% to Maxey. I find them incredibly difficult to get to. However, you can get to Joel Embiid, or even if you want to get to Tyrese Maxey, I wouldn't fault anybody for it. The matchup is fantastic. I just don't really know how you do it.
Yeah, they look like there's a few teams on this slate where if I get there, I'm happy to, but they're just tough because there are also games like the Pacers and Bucks and a couple others, the Pelicans in particular, the Raptors, where they just stand out as such favorable spots, potentially the Lakers if guys get ruled out, where it's tough to prioritize the Sixers, especially because, and I think this is really the big thing, the pieces that you most want to get to are expensive. Joel Embiid, 11,800, Tyrese Maxey, 9,100. And I don't mean that in the sense that they're too expensive, they're overpriced, any of that. It's just they are objectively expensive. There's not a ton of cheap value on the slate, but there are a lot of underpriced mid-range guys. So it creates a dynamic where you're just getting a little bit more balanced. It becomes a little bit more difficult to prioritize those guys at the top. And I think that's what you're seeing. You should be thrilled with whatever Joel Embiid or Tyrese Maxey you get to, especially at 3% owned. But it's just tough to do. There's a reason they're 3% owned. 4% optimal chance on DraftKings for Embiid, 5.5 for Maxey. It's not like they are not getting ownership for a reason.
Yeah, it's just tough to have happen. Do you expect to get anything really? Have you gotten anything in your run?
No, I'm doing a new one now, but I really don't expect to get much unless maybe if the Lakers rule out guys, then you would be getting more value and you could get to Embiid and Maxey easier. But even then, I don't know how much you get to because Giannis probably gets a lot of that if you're able to pay up. If it's a situation where Davis is out, LeBron's just getting more. And you're going to be allocating so much more ownership to the Lakers while still not getting away from the Bucks game and the Raptors and the Pels. I really don't know how much it'll even change.
Not to mention, you're going to need that Lakers news before that tip. Otherwise, you're definitely not getting to anything on the Philly side. Maybe it seems like Giannis would be the natural funnel there, or it just sort of, you open up enough salary for the Lakers that you end up getting to Durant and Booker as not necessarily great point per dollar plays, but you just run into them from raw points at the end. It's going to be a very interesting dynamic. I think it's easier now to talk about the Pistons side. Because there's just it's definitely easier to talk about the Philly side. It's more interesting to talk about the Pistons side because there's at least one guy getting ownership. Asar Thompson, 5,900, small forward, power forward, about 20% owned across both sites. I have no problems at all with it now that he's back in the starting lineup. The rebounding really saves him, really increases his floor if he's going to be out there, and it's a better rebounding opportunity for him now that he's not playing alongside the two bigs. No other ownership coming in here for the Pistons. What are you doing with Thompson, and are you getting anything else from Detroit?
Yeah, I think Thompson's the one that stands out here. The price tag had just been coming back down because of him moving to the bench and just not being a big part of the rotation. Now he's back, or was back in the starting lineup, assuming he remains there. He played 33 and a half minutes last game. He's only 5,900, small forward, power forward, 18% owned, 18% chance of being optimal. I expect to be getting to him a good amount. Other than that, there's not a lot. I was getting a ton of Jaden Ivey this morning. I said that I didn't think that would hold. It was kind of a weird projection gap between optimal percentage and ownership. That's been fixed. Ivey now projected for 1% ownership, 2% chance of being optimal. I have everything running right now very slowly at the moment, but I don't anticipate really getting to anything here other than Thompson.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I think if you want to take flyers on Jaden Ivey, Beef Stew, Cade, like those guys are all Hayes to a degree. They're workable, but I think Thompson is the only guy you can feel, I don't want to say confident in, but it probably is confident.
He's the only one that projects as like anything more as a value better than, oh yeah, this guy starts, he's going to play enough minutes that maybe he plays well.
There we go.
Like, I would say he's the only guy on this team that is actually underpriced.
Agreed. We've got some decent plays. Oh, go ahead.
I'll say with the caveat that if Jaden Ivey were to start, then he would also be underpriced. But that's not the expectation.
No. For the Pelicans, they are 8-point favorites in Washington, 241 total. This one's quite a bit different. 20% ownership to Brandon Ingram, 15 to CJ, 25 to Herb Jones and Joval, 10 coming into Zion, who is in a crowded tier of power forward centers. These guys look incredible because the Washington Wizards are 28th in defensive rating and second in pace. That is a recipe for success for whoever they are playing. And these guys are all either picking up MPEs or priced down a little bit. They're all playing big minutes. Hard to not be very interested in the New Orleans Pelicans.
Yeah, the Pelicans look great. Like for the reasons you said, the matchup against Washington's fantastic, but then the pricing is also just pretty cheap. And with how tight DraftKings pricing generally is, getting a team like this where they're all just sort of at the cheapest prices we've seen in a while against Washington, it's just going to make them stand out. That's also why you're going to see a lot of ownership come into Toronto, which we'll get to. I think there's a lot of ways you can approach this team. This morning, I was getting a ton of $5,500 Herb Jones. Would have no issue if that's happening again. The field's getting to 26%. Joval, I was getting around 50% this morning. He's 28% owned. $6,700 looks very good. Ingram, shooting guard, small forward, 7,800. So we got the small forward position back on DraftKings. He's sub 8K. That's going to look nice. Zion at 7,900, McCollum at 74. You can play any of these guys. Right now, the biggest priorities look like Joval and Jones probably, but any of the 5 starters look good.
Yeah, like I love the idea of Ingram, the price tag, the position, that all looks absolutely fantastic to me right now. And I do like the idea of Zion at 8%. I find that entire range to be really interesting. And he has been playing a bit better as of late. You're seeing Pascal Siakam get double the ownership, $200 more expensive. I don't know if that dynamic works for me. Like I would be more than okay with flipping them. That's not to say that I don't like Pascal Siakam, but I think Zion does look pretty solid in that range. 1.3 DK points per minute over the past 30 days for him. It's as good of an environment as you can get to, and you're seeing it in the ownership, and I don't see any real problems with that ownership.
No, me neither. It looks like one of the best teams across the board.
I don't get the sense that that's how you're describing your Washington Wizards, who have 8% ownership coming to Daniel Gafford. That's the high mark on DraftKings. They are on single digits on both sites, DraftKings and FanDuel. Are you seeing yourself getting to any more Washington? I was getting to a little bit more than I expected this morning.
I'm getting about what I had this morning. The only difference is that I am up to 11% Kuzma now. So at 2% owned, I am getting to some of him. 8,200 is perfectly fine price tag. They do have a 117 implied total. It's not like it's low. Kuzma has been the only like good player on this team all season. So I'd never have a problem getting to him when he's not popular. We have 9% ownership coming into Jones, 7.5 to Gafford. I'm getting about 11% of both of them, 3% of your boy Jordan Poole. But yeah, the only difference for me is I'm getting a little bit more Kuzma than this morning. I did also, New Orleans looks quite a bit different for me than they were this morning. Zion's actually, if the slate started right now, my highest owned guy from the Pels at 26%. Joval at 18%, Ingram at 17%, Herb Jones only at 8%, McCollum at 7%, and then a random lineup with Trey Murphy. So still getting to all 5 starters, just not as aggressively as I was this morning. And in a much different order. Still nothing
I'm gonna
really
hit
for
this.
me. Nothing really for me from the Sixers, and then 20% of Sar Thompson. So exactly what I expected from the Philly Detroit game. Not exactly what I expected from New Orleans Washington, but close enough.
Got to hit Shikari's super chat here. It's not going to be very helpful. Anyway, you could give me 6 prize picks for tonight.
That's a you question.
It's also a no answer. So no, that is not what we do around these parts. What I would recommend you do is click on the link in the description, sign up for Odds Shopper. That's going to be the spot that you are looking for plays on prize picks. We take a market-based approach to beating the pick'em sites. If you're looking for 2 plays, you can check my Twitter at Josh Engleman. I put those out earlier, but no, we're not just handing out 6 prize picks plays in the middle of the show.
I can't even
appreciate the super
site,
chat.
So.
Appreciate the super chat, but that's not how this one works. Anything else here for the Wiz?
No.
Yeah, not much else. We got a couple games that we are definitely going to be touching on in depth, at least more so than Philly and Washington and Detroit to a degree. But for now, schedule for the rest of the day, very easy. We have NBA Live Before Lock coming up next. They'll take you from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. But right now, I just want you guys to grab our avatar. It's simple. Go to stokastic.com/avatar. Grab the logo, hook it up on DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo, Owner's Box. If you finish in the top 3 of a contest with 5,000 or more entries, that's it. That's a very simple, low bar. If you do that, you get 1 month at Stokastic, whichever package you're looking for. I'm assuming you're going to grab NBA Sims if you're watching this show. That's a $200 value, and this costs you absolutely nothing. You don't have to be a sub with us to use our avatar, but I think you're going to be one long-term if you pick up a dub while you use it. You get projections and ownership, access to the Sims tool after you would get that free month. All you have to do is tweet that win at Stokastic HOF on Twitter. We want to promote you. We want everybody to see that you were repping the Stokastic badge. So all you got to do, click the link in the description or head to the link in chat, stokastic.com/avatar.
Good question. Somebody in chat said, what are we doing if Zion gets ruled out? It's going to make Ingram look better. It'll make Joval look better. You'll get Jones and McCollum will look marginally better. Trey Murphy will look better. If we get a random guy starting that, is surprising and cheap, then there's some value there. But assuming, you'd be getting Murphy or Daniels in the starting lineup, maybe Marshall.
Yeah, I'm looking at prices right now just to Trey Murphy's at 5,200. Even if you want to bump him up a bunch, he's going to be fine. Great game environment, but not a crazy value.
It would have the guy that I'm looking at so if they started Dyson Daniels or Najee, they're both pretty cheap. Point guard, small forward for Dyson Daniels, 4,100. Najee, 3,600. If one of those two started, then you have a pretty solid value play there. Not to say that if Murphy starts, he's not a good value. He's just obviously less of a value.
I assume we would be in agreement here that Brandon Ingram would just be... I have to imagine we're taking a giant usage bump to him.
Let me see.
I don't see it. They don't have anybody else on the team other than him, or if we want to just say CJ goes from mildly interesting to really interesting. I don't nobody else has that sort of soak up the usage vibe for the Pels.
Yeah, if I remember right, it's a nice bump for him. I'm just trying to pull up. So in games that Ingram has played without Zion, with McCollum, and with Valanciunas since the start of last season, 1.25 DraftKings points per minute, 32.1% usage rate. In the 18 games he's played with all 3 of them, 1.12 DraftKings points per minute, 26.8% usage rate.
Yeah, do you have Brandon Ingram's points per minute with Zion not around?
Just in the full games.
Yeah.
Like the one I just said.
Oh, did you say it right now? What was the rate?
So 30 games with McCollum and Joval in and without Zion since the start of last season, 1.25 DraftKings points per minute.
I only heard the usage rate.
The usage rate was 32%.
Yeah, that I heard. I didn't hear the fantasy points per minute.
Okay, yeah. 1.25 without 1.12 with.
Okay. Yeah, 1.25 at 35 minutes or whatever. I call it 44 fantasy points. I think he would become like up around like the OG Anunoby top owned dude just because of that position. So I assume he'll get ruled out at 659 just to piss me off. All right, let's get to it now. Charlotte Hornets 8-point dogs in Miami, 222 total. Not too much to read into here for Charlotte. Nick Smith out, Mark Williams still doubtful. Still waiting on that 5:30 injury report in 11 minutes. So we'll be able to see that sort of update. 20% ownership coming into Nick Richards right now, 10 to Gordon Hayward, around 10 to Brandon Miller, scattered ownership to Rozier and PJ Washington. Let's start with that Nick Richards ownership. Is that a guy you're getting to now at 5,100?
23%. So he's my highest owned guy right now from the Hornets.
Okay.
Slightly edging out Brandon Miller. Field on Richards is at 20%. So I'm right around the field there. We do have him projected to be a bit over-owned, but I'm just finding other ways to be different, I guess. So yeah, getting to 23% of him, getting to 21% of Brandon Miller, 6K, shooting guard, small forward, 8%. Other than that, not getting a ton. 7% Hayward, 5% Bridges, a little bit of Rozier. Lost that from this morning, which is disappointing, but I get it. The price tag isn't super favorable there. Yeah, Richards and Miller are the guys that are mostly showing up for me now.
10% to Hayward, is it? I mean, like, it's just sort of everything on Charlotte kind of looks decent. I'm a little surprised to see Nick Richards be at 20. I don't find him to be all that unique for the Hornets. I think all these guys kind of look pretty similar. Like, I'd be happy with really any of these pieces that are likely to play, I'll say, for Nick Richards, 26 minutes or more.
Agreed.
Robert wants to know. Oh, go ahead.
No, so on the FanDuel side too, because obviously center is different on FanDuel, but Richards is only 5K, pulling 20% ownership. Like, he looks very similar there to what he does on DraftKings, going a bit over-owned, but nothing egregious, nothing that makes you like want to actively avoid him. Brandon Miller, also the second best play on FanDuel.
Daniel Gafford will play.
All right, Daniel Gafford to the locker room incoming.
Yep. Robert with the super chat wants to know favorite $3,500 to $4,500 range value player on FanDuel. Isaiah Jackson?
Yeah, sorting by optimal percentage, it's Jackson. We have him with the fifth highest optimal percentage. He is power forward, which is a really big deal there.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I was just shouting out the highest projected dude ahead.
Yeah, and there's not a lot else. Like, when scrolling down further, what was 35 to 4,500? So we have Jackson right now, 17.7% chance of being optimal on FanDuel. The next guy in the range that you asked about is Derrick Rose at 12%.
Okay. Yeah, like Malachi Branham, Nick Batum. I'm just like looking at guys that I have projected decently in this range. Jericho Sims, I guess, but I'm guessing he's center only.
The third guy for us in terms of optimal percentage is Gallinari at 10%, 9.5%.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the Miami side, which is a little bit more interesting now. We just got news that Josh Richardson is out with a headache. We obviously don't have Bam Adebayo. We don't have Tyler Hero. We don't have Haywood Highsmith. Prior to the show starting, we had about 15% ownership coming into Martin, 20 to Kevin Love. I assume that this isn't updated for the Jay Rich ownership. So how do you think this impacts the rest of the team? Does it create anybody else? Does it just make you feel a little bit better of any ownership you get to Martin, Robinson, Jaquez? I'm not entirely sure that we get to anything new here.
So it is getting me a crazy amount of Caleb Martin and Jaquez right now.
Okay.
I would like it to
go
away.
Which is interesting to me. I don't know how much anything changes for the two of those guys.
It is interesting to me too. I am not really thrilled with it, but I have 48% Martin and 32% Jaquez right now, which is a lot. It is 5 times the field basically on Jaquez, 3x the field on Martin. They both look good, and I think look better without Richardson. I would still like these to come down just because I don't really love either player at their salary. But you are taking out a legitimate rotation piece here. It is a really good matchup, and these guys do play big enough minutes where you can be pretty confident in their playing time at least.
Yeah, like I already had Caleb Martin at 34. I don't know if that like I don't feel very comfortable going much higher than 34 minutes for Martin. I gave an extra minute to Jaime Jaquez. I feel like it is Miami, and they do tend to like just concentrate their minutes even when people are out. But it feels like you got to get some Jamal Cain, and I don't mean in a lineup. Just like I feel like a lot of these minutes just have to go to him or RJ Hampton or just random stuff. Like is Kyle Lowry the guy that actually gets the biggest benefit from something like this?
For comparison, how do you have Martin and Jaquez projected in terms of DraftKings points right now?
I have Martin at 32.5 in 34 minutes. I have Jaquez at 29.1 in 32 minutes, but I'm thinking about going up to 33 minutes.
Yeah, we're not super different there. So I don't really know why I'm getting so much. Jaquez 29 in 33-ish minutes for me. Martin at 33.8 in 34 minutes. So a little bit higher on the point per minute for Caleb Martin, but nothing crazy. I'm a little confused why I'm getting so much. And again, I don't mind it. Like this is the type of thing where, I think a lot of times people ask, oh, well, I'm getting more of so-and-so than I want. What should I do? This is the type of thing where if I run through all of my stuff at lock and this is still showing up, I'm going to go into the slate with a bunch of these guys and just hope they don't make me look dumb. But I have a hard time explaining like why they're separating so much from other guys.
Yeah. Like I don't think Josh Richardson being out really affects Kevin Love or Orlando Robinson or Thomas Bryant or anything on the center side. I don't really think it matters all that much for Jimmy Butler. Like I think he's just going to be out there doing the same sort of thing. It's either like a wildly large minutes bump to like we got 35 minutes out of Kyle Lowry last time out. I think that's relevant for Jay Rich if you want to assume that Kyle Lowry is going out there and playing 34 minutes, but I don't know how much different. I feel safer with Caleb Martin, but I don't know how much better he looks.
Right. And that's sort of the thing. That's what I wanted to immediately check when I saw how much I was getting was, is Caleb Martin at like 38 minutes now, but he's not. So I think I hate using the word floor. I think the floor is higher without Richardson, at least in terms of minutes. Who knows what guys do with those minutes, but I think that's higher. But the fact that like I don't disagree with the projections in terms of minutes, like 34, 33, those are fine. So the fact that the minutes look good, there's not some like wonky projection where suddenly we're projecting Caleb Martin like Giannis. There's nothing here that I'm looking at and going like, oh, this needs to be dialed back. This is why I'm getting so much. So now it's a case of, yes, I'm really uncomfortable with this, but it is what it is. And if the slate started right now, it's what I would have. Again, I'm kind of hoping it's not what I have by the time the slate starts, but they are both showing up as good plays. And it is a really good matchup against Charlotte at reasonable pricing and good positional eligibility.
Reminder, Nikola Jovic with the G League team, so he is not available to just fall into any minutes here, but it's not like they've really been playing him anyway unless everybody is out.
Yeah. I assume Kane moves into the rotation.
I think so too. And then they have RJ Hampton.
Right.
So, yeah.
The real answer here is I'm going to end up with a ton of Martin and Jaquez, and Duncan Robinson's going to make 14 threes.
Probably. Yeah. Probably.
Robinson is my third highest owned guy on Miami. Duncan Robinson, rather, at 6%.
Okay. Are you getting any Jimmy?
1%.
Interesting. I think he looks good.
So do I. I just don't have the problem is just the price, right? He's $1,000 more than Brandon Ingram. He is more than Siakam. He is more than Kuzma. He is more than, I think, Randall. If not, it's about the same. He is the same price as Wemby. So, like, these are the issues that I think you're running into on Butler, but I like the idea of him.
It's going to be really fun when this game locks at 7:30 and at 7:31 you get the Lakers news and you've locked in all of this like Caleb Martin, Jaime Jaquez shit.
It's not going to be fun at all.
Atlanta Hawks, 1.5 point dogs in Toronto, 241 total. Not much coming in on the Atlanta side. Not too much to worry about either, other than we are waiting on a Q tag for DeAndre Hunter, which will carry a little bit of weight for the rest of this team. Might create a little bit of value. Certainly will make Bogdanovich look better than the 1% ownership he's getting, but 12% ownership to Clint Capella, only guy in double digits on DraftKings and FanDuel. Are you finding yourself getting to the Atlanta side?
Not really. A little bit more than I was this morning. This morning I had like nothing. I'm up to 6% Capella, 5% Sadiq Bey, 1% a piece on Trae Young and Okongwu, but not really getting a lot here. And this is just another team where they look fine, 120 implied total, but pricing is just pretty much where it should be. I mean, Sadiq Bey is up to 6,100. Young is just shy of 10K on DraftKings. And to put that in context, that's putting you in the same price range as Anthony Davis and LeBron against the Spurs, assuming for the sake of what I'm saying right now that they play. It's it's tough to get to that price range in general, but then you also just have a lot of competition up there. On the FanDuel side, definitely a spot where maybe they would look better, but pricing there isn't really much softer. 9,600 for Trae Young, so he is relatively better on FanDuel. 11% to be optimal, 8% ownership. DeJounte Murray is $700 less on FanDuel. So on FanDuel, I think the Young, Murray, $5,900 Sadiq Bey, $6,400 Capella pieces all look better than DraftKings. They still don't look like priorities. They just look easier to get to than they are on DraftKings, probably with the exception of Capella, who is only 6,200, and you do have the 2 center spots.
It's a little different on the Toronto side, where Dennis Schroeder is 30% owned. Gary Trent is 15. Jakob Poeltl's 30. Pascal Siakam's 15. Scotty Barnes is basically 15. And my boy OG Anunoby is 40. All of the ownership today is concentrated to the Toronto Raptors, and there is not a single disagreement from me. These guys look absolutely fantastic. Second highest total on the slate. Atlanta defense, not all that interesting. And it feels like Toronto's prices all came down as a collective.
My night is revolving around OG Anunoby, Caleb Martin, Jaime Jaquez, and haven't gotten to him yet, but Jeremy Sohan. I would like to unregister. But yeah, like they look really, really good. Great matchup. Pricing is good. I sort of mentioned it when we were talking about the Pels that we've seen it all season long, particularly on DraftKings, because they just haven't missed on a lot of pricing. So when you get like one team that either does have injuries or the pricing is just soft for whatever reason, they stand out even more than you would expect them to. And that's really the case here is pricing on the Raptors just kind of misses for this matchup. A $5,800 OG Anunoby looks fantastic. Like you said, 40% owned, 20% chance of being optimal. So he is pretty clearly going over owned, but it's a big enough slate where you can just mix in low enough owned guys around your Anunoby and still be perfectly fine if that's the route you want to take. I'm getting the 47% Poeltl, who is 29% owned, 27% Schroeder, 20% Siakam, 13% Scotty Barnes, who this morning was my highest owned guy, but heavily getting to all 5 of the starters. 15% ownership coming into Gary Trent. I do only have 1% of him, so that's a spot where I am just kind of getting away. I get why the ownership's there. Good positional eligibility, point guard, shooting guard, only 4K, but at the same time, only projects for 17.5, 18 DraftKings points, and is relatively popular.
So this is just a wild, wild scenario. Can you imagine how owned OG would be if he had the right positional eligibility?
Right. Yeah. If he had like small forward.
55 probably. But him having shooting guard, like that's what's driving his ownership. That position getting filled by him as the probably best point per dollar shooting guard that exists. Yeah, it's going to happen a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, and I'm including myself in this. There's, I think, sort of a negative connotation around OG Anunoby as a fantasy producer. The guy is still just shy of 0.9 DraftKings points per minute this year. He's at 0.88. He's playing big minutes, played 37 last game against the Knicks. So
Zion out.
All right, well, that opens up some value probably.
Yeah. Anyway, keep going on OG.
Yeah, it's just it's one of those where I hate looking at like my screen and seeing that not only am I playing a 40% OG Anunoby, but I'm playing even more than that 40% because it's OG Anunoby and it's not exciting. But it's just take his average rates, then also assume, it's a better than average matchup and assume he's playing 36 minutes or so. And it's just very clear to see why he's getting so much ownership.
Absolutely. Load up your Toronto. I don't think there's a bad thing you could do for any of the guys that are getting ownership.
No, me neither. You could, I guess, maybe see some of the ownership, like Anunoby, for example, come down now that we do have Zion out. If they were to go to, say, point guard, small forward, $4,100 Dyson Daniels, and you're just rostering him at guard spots, it still doesn't take that shooting guard spot, but that, maybe changes things a little bit. I don't remember. So Trey Murphy, 5,200 shooting guard, small forward, certainly somebody that could be cutting into OG's ownership now, but one way or the other, he's going to look like a good play.
Jeff Williams with the super chat. Giannis and Isaiah Jackson or Brook Lopez and Dame in the DK 888.
I'm going to start by saying I hope whichever you go with fails. Unless my team is dead, then good luck. But I think I would go Giannis, Isaiah Jackson.
Same.
They're both fine. My thinking there is sort of that the game's likely to be really high scoring. Clearly, Giannis is the best guy of those groups. But I just sort of like the Isaiah Jackson piece for the same reason I said this morning, where there's a pretty good chance Miles Turner has a good game if he doesn't get in foul trouble. And if he does get in foul trouble, it's just Isaiah Jackson getting a bunch of minutes. So it kind of just works as like a way to negatively correlate with somebody that should have some ownership and still have upside.
The Memphis Grizzlies are 7.5-point dogs in Houston, 211 total. This game is utterly disgusting. 5% owned Derrick Rose is the high mark on the Grizzlies. It's single digits across FanDuel. I can't imagine you are getting anything really from Memphis. This game is so bad, I don't know how you get any volume.
Same. I don't know. Like we talked about it this morning. It's what, 8-9 points below the next lowest total.
It's 11 right now.
Okay, yeah. So this is a game that in 2006, it would be like, oh, this is a high-scoring, fast-paced track meet. But this is just an absolutely insane game. 103 implied total for Memphis, 109 for Houston. Very difficult for me to get to anything from the Memphis side. And probably just got even more difficult, honestly, with Zion being ruled out. Because all that I was getting to from the Memphis side was like 1% Derrick Rose, a random David Roddy lineup. I also had a Desmond Bane lineup who I think he's questionable now. I think that came out right before our show. Yeah.
He is.
Which I guess could open some stuff up in a still very unappealing game. But basically, you were looking to this team just as I need a cheap guy. Derrick Rose will fit. And now you just got cheap guys that are playing the Wizards instead.
And it doesn't get too much better on the Houston side. Single-digit ownership across the board to everybody from Houston. It is 11% to Van Vliet on FanDuel and 13 to Jalen Green. I think Houston looks a little bit better than Memphis for sure, but it also doesn't feel like a team you're going to get a ton of. But if you get Şengün, Brooks, Van Vliet, Smith, Jalen Green, no issues with it. They're just not going to be the best point per dollar plays on the slate.
Yeah, the nice thing about Houston is just that the pricing is a little bit more favorable for the guys that you actually want to get to. Like whenever you're talking about Memphis, you really want to get to Bane, you want to get to Jaren Jackson, and it's just very difficult to be rostering Desmond Bane at a significantly higher price tag than, for example, Brandon Ingram. Same for Jaren Jackson at a similar price tag. With Houston, at least, Jabari Smith, Jalen Green, those guys give you some upside. Dylan Brooks plays big minutes, and maybe he'll be tempted to shoot 25 times in this game. But those guys are at least reasonably priced. The only guy I'm really getting to, though, is 11% of Dylan Brooks, and that could very easily go away now with Dyson Daniels / Trey Murphy / Najee Marshall.
Sure. Anything else for Houston?
No, this game is awful.
It is indeed. You know what's not awful?
What's that?
Underdog Fantasy, sponsor of this show. There is a link in the description. You'll also see one in chat. Sign up at Underdog. Get a first match deposit bonus of up to $100. They are a one-stop shop for everything you want to do in the sports gambling realm. Pick'em contest for people in non-legal betting states. You can win up to 20x your money. Daily fantasy contests, large field GPPs with daily drafts. They've got best ball. Surely you've heard about it regularly. Deep underway for the NFL season, but keep your eye out for it next year. Adam, how did your best ball go so far?
Decent. I haven't bothered looking through my teams, so I don't know if I have anything that actually looks good. But I think I advanced like 24, 25% on Underdog and similar on DraftKings.
Well, let's just say that Underdog is the only place that you should play best ball since they are the sponsor. We don't need to use those pesky DraftKings guys. They also have playoff drafts for the NBA, NHL, and PGA majors. You should get in at Underdog, get that bonus, maybe use Odd Shopper, which we'll talk about in a little bit, to take a market-based approach to beating those books like Underdog, like everything else that exists on the Pick'em side. But honestly, it's as simple as just wanting to grab that bonus money to me. And Underdog really, at this point now, a gold standard in this industry. You got to be 18 or over. And if you are concerned with your play, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
Also had 3 in the top 10,000 on Underdog, which got me back $750, I think.
Oh, nice. Good stuff.
Yeah, so now I only need to cash for 3,000 on my teams that probably don't have quarterbacks.
There you go. Indiana Pacers are 6.5-point dogs in Milwaukee, 258.5 total. And oddly enough, single digit ownership across the board for the Pacers on DraftKings. Isaiah Jackson gets to 16% on FanDuel because he's power forward only. Sure. FanDuel asleep at the wheel for that one. How do you want to handle this for Indiana? I think Miles Turner looks the best, but these guys are all sort of priced where they should be.
Yeah, Turner's actually on DraftKings the only one I'm really getting to. He's 8% owned. I have 20%. 7,300 isn't the best price tag, but it is a it's as appealing a game as you're going to get. So I'm getting to him. I'm not getting to Isaiah Jackson, but like I was just saying when we answered that super chat, I really like the idea of having one of them in a lot of lineups. I liked it more, honestly, this morning. I had 20% Turner and 20% Jackson and none of it together. I really liked that just because at their respective prices, Turner's a little expensive again at 7,300, but if he just plays his normal minutes, doesn't get in foul trouble in this game, he's just so likely to outperform that salary. And if he doesn't play his normal minutes, it most likely means Isaiah Jackson is playing more than he's projected for. So I really like having one of them. Not saying I would force any sort of rule or anything, but if maybe you're playing one lineup, or basically in the case of that super chat, you're on the fence about a 2v2, I like erring towards having one of the Indiana centers if you can. But other than that, I'm not getting here, which sucks, but I understand why. I would love to get the Halliburton, but he's 11-1. You have Giannis at a similar price point. You have Embiid at a higher price point. You have, at the moment, James and Davis at lower price points. It's just tough to get the Halliburton as good as he is.
Yeah, no disagreement.
I did want to check his FanDuel price because that's been lacking. So he's up to 11K on FanDuel now. Still a better price than on DraftKings, but not a huge gap. Getting 6% ownership, 10% chance of being optimal. So if you just really want to sweat Tyrese Halliburton in DFS tonight, I would probably register FanDuel.
Milwaukee side, not pulling all that much ownership either, although, man, they look like, to me, Giannis looks so good. 11% ownership to 16 to Brook Lopez, around 10 to Bobby Portis. They're the only two guys above 10. And then it's, 5 to 10 on Campaign, Dame, Giannis, Middleton, Beasley. What are you getting to from Milwaukee in this incredibly high total game?
All right, I feel like I need to walk back my answer to that super chat now that I've actually looked at what I'm getting. In my head, I prefer the Giannis Jackson side, but on DraftKings, I don't really have Jackson much. I don't have Giannis. I don't have Dame, or I have 1% Dame, but I have 47% Brook Lopez. So
that'll do it.
Yeah. So again, like in my head, I like the Isaiah Jackson side, but my stuff right now, I'm not really getting to any of it except for Brook Lopez as far as the 4 guys that were included in that super chat. So I'll go ahead and walk that back for Jeff. But $6,400 Brook Lopez clearly looks fine. 16% ownership. Like I said, I'm getting a lot more. I am getting the Bobby Portis now, which I wasn't this morning. 5,100, 11% ownership. I have 15%. I have 15% Middleton coming off of a game where he played about 33 minutes, including overtime. That doesn't mean you project 33 minutes. It does mean he was just allowed to play 33 minutes, which you do like to see. Shooting guard, small forward. Salary has come up a bit to 6,500, but still happy to get there. 10% Malik Beasley at 5,400. That is one that may or may not go away once I rerun things for the Pels news. So yeah, getting to the 4 like mid-range guys, Lopez, Middleton, Portis, Beasley. I'm not getting much Lillard. I'm not getting much Giannis, but I would really like to. And they are both guys that I could certainly be getting more with the Pels news. Like if Bobby Portis starts turning into some Najee Marshall or Dyson Daniels, I can start potentially getting a little bit more Dame and Giannis.
All righty. Yeah, I want Giannis so bad tonight. Pause. That 11-4 power forward center just combo. It's the dude I want to pay up for. I just like when I look at it, it's like, okay, 258 total. Like, what if they skew one standard deviation high?
Right.
And they scored 270 something points, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, the game stack for Indiana Milwaukee was probably decent.
Yeah. So I had said this about, it was an Indiana game, might have been like an Indiana Atlanta game a few weeks ago where we had, I think it was like a 255, 256 total.
Yeah.
And I said, like, I have no data to back this up, but my immediate thought when I saw the total was like, it's probably being undersold. Because if you just slap a 270 total on a game, you're just going to end up getting so much action on the under because it's such a ridiculous number.
It was the one that went over with like 11 or 8 minutes or 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it was like a 255 point total, and it went over like at the end of the third quarter. So yeah, again, like I have no data to back that up. I am completely talking out of my ass, but it was just like the first thing I thought of when I saw it was like, this is probably just being undersold a little bit.
Well, as we keep this moving, the Los Angeles Lakers are 3-point favorites in San Antonio, 231 total. And unfortunately for us, this one hasn't cleared up, and that's kind of frustrating. So we have a Q tag on Anthony Davis, a Q tag on LeBron, and a Q tag on Jared Vanderbilt. None of that information is helpful. AD and LeBron are basically not owned right now. The line is, like I said, 3, which to me does imply that someone isn't going to be around, or that the line is going to move pretty significantly once they're ruled in. One of those two things are certainly going to happen. There's nothing we could do here for the Lakers right now, and I assume you're treating it like these guys are just in.
Yeah, and I don't really know how else you can handle it right now. Like you can, if you want to, like sure, you can guess and say, oh, I don't think Davis is going to play. Let me bump everybody else up. My approach is going to be to hope that I get this news as early as I can and just be ready to late swap and, hopefully have as many spots open as possible because it is a really useful spot or really useful game potentially. If those guys are in, I have one lineup out of 150 at the moment with Anthony Davis, one with LeBron, and none with anybody else. So this is sort of the problem too, is it has the potential to just be a game that doesn't look very good at all. But you take out Davis, that's opening up Jackson Hayes, Christian Wood, potentially Vanderbilt if he's in, even more Hayes and Christian Wood if Vanderbilt is out. LeBron would look better. Rui would look good or better at least if Davis is out. If they're both out, then you just get it suddenly turns into like the Mavericks from 3 times already this season, where you're just grabbing every Laker that you can in a good matchup at cheap price tag. So like this game, the Lakers specifically can go from basically just unowned, take what you can get, but don't worry about it, to the best team on the slate. And we have no idea which one it's going to be.
The worst. It's the worst. It's not going to be fun. My expectation, Mark Williams out, Trae Young will play. I think we're going to lose one of these Lakers dudes. I just don't know which one. DeAndre Hunter out.
Yeah. Probably doesn't matter with Hawks pricing too much.
No, I mean, you're bumping Bogdanovic up. I think he's probably getting like 32 minutes now.
Yeah, he's 6,800 on DraftKings.
Yeah. Sadiq Bey is really at like max capacity for minutes. You probably get some extra minutes to Wes Matthews. AJ Griffin steps into the rotation.
Garrison Matthews started last game, played 17 minutes.
Yeah. And even at 20, he's, well, on a day like today, a little bit more interesting, but not really that interesting.
Yeah. Who's Otto Porter play for? He's available. Raptors still?
Sounds right. We got Chris Boucher news right after it, so I'm going to say yeah.
That's why it was my guess. I think I played him.
San Antonio side a little bit more interesting. Talk to me about the Fighting Jeremy Sohans.
I'm getting so much so. He's my highest owned guy at the start of the show. I don't think he will be by lock, just with news coming out.
By the way, AJ Griffin out for personal reasons, so not AJ Griffin. He's already on the injury report. I just didn't. Yeah, I just assumed he was around.
He only played 9 minutes last game. No Hunter. Bogdanovic played 35 and a half. Wesley Matthews played 18. Garrison played 17. It doesn't hurt the playing time for those guys, but shouldn't make a huge difference, I don't think.
No.
But yeah, I mean, Sohan's just cheap. He's been back in the starting lineup. Obviously, the big news from this game is keeping an eye on the Lakers. Also keep an eye on what the Spurs do with their starting lineup. They have been switching things around pretty frequently with that lately. So does have the potential to go from Jeremy Sohan looks great, he's back in the starting lineup, to Jeremy Sohan is coming off the bench, I don't want him. But assuming he starts, looks really good. 35 minutes last game, only $5,400. Point guard, small forward is amazing. 23% owned. I have like 75% right now. Again, that number probably comes down for me just based on other plays opening up since I ran this at the start of the show, but pretty clearly going to be a good value play that you're probably going to want to have a good amount of. I'm getting the 23%. Devin Vassell is my second highest owned guy at 15%. 11% Wemby, basically in line with the field. That's another one, pay attention to the starting lineup. Not that he's ever coming off the bench, but if Wemby's starting at center, he is just better from a fantasy standpoint. Charles Bassey is also out. So you're going to be getting plenty of, even if they were to move Zach Collins back to the starting lineup, you'd be getting plenty of backup Wemby, I would assume, at center. So one way or the other, he's playing center minutes. That makes him even more productive. I sort of wish I was getting more at 8,800, but 11% will work. Getting the 7% Keldon Johnson. The only assumed starter I'm not really getting is Malachi Branham. I only have 1%.
I wanted to point this one out. I don't know what they've changed for San Antonio. Victor Wembanyama, shots defended at the rim per game. First 16 games, 4.3. The last 5 games, 9.6. He's defending twice as many shots at the rim now than he was earlier. Think about that for yourselves. That block rate is fixing to go up from what is already a relatively high number. Yeah, and I'm with you on Sohan. Like I have a ton, and he's point guard, small forward. Like I totally get it in this spot.
I was really surprised. Like, so I know I knew Wemby was having a good year. Me and Neil and I were talking about it on the show the other day. I was really surprised to see he's actually been below average in terms of offensive EPM because he's just been such a fantasy monster. And I knew a lot of it was defensive stat initiated. I didn't realize it was that drastic, that he's just been that good defensively and still getting, opportunities and rebounds and all of that. But I just assumed he was having a better offensive year than he is.
All righty. I took a look at Atlanta, by the way, and it didn't really unlock anything.
I didn't think.
Let's go to Brooklyn.
Bogdanovich scored 40 real points last game. If he does that, then $6,800 doesn't matter. But from a what you're expecting standpoint, it's going to be tough to get there.
The Nets are 2-point dogs in Phoenix, 227 total. Standard issue rotation for Brooklyn, and no one's playing these dudes. Cam Johnson's 10% owned, Bridges is 10% owned, and Dinwiddie's 15 on FanDuel, but it is basically 0 across the board on the DK side, and I think it should be.
Yeah, I have basically nothing here on DraftKings. 5% Dinwiddie, 2% Cameron Johnson. To answer where to go, Maurice Hunt in chat said, what's driving the Sohan push? 0.84 DraftKings points per minute for the season, playing in a game that has around a 232, 233 point total. Back in the starting lineup at 5,400, playing low to mid 30s in minutes. It's basically OG Anunoby, but and also point guard, small forward. So you can roster him in basically any type of lineup. It's kind of just OG Anunoby with better positions.
Yeah. And look, here, this is actually, they're going to look a little bit, it all sort of depends on the LeBron and AD news too. If both of those guys end up in, then this Lakers line is going to move to 6 or 7, and then San Antonio will look incrementally worse. You get both of those guys out, this game becomes a coin flip. You take the Lakers defense looks a little bit worse. Jeremy Sohan probably looks a little bit better at that point. So there's elements that can change here, but either way, the price, position, and minutes he's getting look fantastic.
Yeah. Charles Moran said Sohan is a GPP mass entry play. No, he's on the short list of cash plays. It's just very obviously one of the better point per dollar plays on the slate.
Yep. Yes, he is. He is the 6th most owned guy when we started this show with guard forward eligibility. He will likely, if that were just to hold and we hadn't gotten any news, he would be 65, 70% owned in cash.
Yep. Yeah. I haven't built a cash lineup, and I am generally a pretty big proponent of there is an optimal lineup you should be playing in cash. So I'm not saying you need Sohan in cash, but absolutely on the short list of just best projected point per dollar plays.
And certainly he's showing up in most of the lineups that you're generating at the top end with no randomness and
right. And this all does come down a bit because of the Pels. We did update ownership, so now we have right now, and we haven't gotten a confirmed lineup, but Najee Marshall 40% ownership, Herb Jones 36% ownership. These are guys you can play for cheap in the forward spots where Sohan was, I'm sure, showing up a lot. So Sohan's value relatively has come down from the time that I ran my lineups at the start of the show to now, but he still just projects very well.
Bradley Beal is playing today, which we didn't see coming. And that is an interesting piece of information. Kevin Durant, also probable. Nas Little, questionable. Josh Okogie out. 0 ownership coming into this Phoenix team. And that seems about right to me.
Yeah, same. I don't have a single Phoenix player in a single lineup as of when this show started, and nothing has happened during the show that's made it more likely that I get to them.
No, not at all. So then we get to the final game for today. I know that we're glossing over Phoenix here, but it's just really not worth talking about. And we're finally getting all three of them together on the court for the first time. That should be fun to see. Knicks, 5-point favorites in Utah, 228 total on the Knicks side. Quickly is questionable. Mitchell Robinson out. 10 to 15% ownership coming into Quickly. Hartenstein, Randall, Barrett, scattered around 10 to Brunson and Hart. Sort of like every individual Knick that normally plays real minutes looks decent enough outside of DiVincenzo and Grimes. It's a really nice matchup against Utah.
Yeah, agreed. 15% Barrett, 13% Hart, the two leading the way for me at the moment. Fields getting to only 8% Hart, 16% on Barrett. Those are both guys that I think are hurt by the Zion news, just because you get cheaper versions of them, essentially, between Murphy, Daniels, Jones, and Marshall. So I think the Knicks probably do start to look a little bit worse. But those are the two I was getting to. If you get to Randall, you get to Brunson. Those both look fine. Hartenstein coming off the bench at 5K. He's just a better point per minute guy off the bench than when he starts alongside Randall. So I wouldn't be concerned about him coming off the bench, even though whenever anybody starts, you feel better about their minutes. I'm not really getting there, but the field's around 12%. I think he looks perfectly fine.
Randall is the guy that I like the most here, and I assume that will carry its weight as we get further along in this slate, or further along in the day. The Quickly ownership is interesting, but 4,800 now is just where the minutes for him have been very odd as of late. 19, 19, 19, then got finally back up to that 25 in the game that Mitchell Robinson got hurt. Anything else here that you would want to touch on for the Knicks?
No, just to, again, just kind of quickly double back to Sohan, because somebody in chat asked if I like him more than Herb Jones. I don't now. I did at 5 p.m.
Yeah. You don't, or you probably won't?
So I have no idea who I'll play more of.
Sure.
I like Herb Jones is projected for twice the ownership, so that's obviously part of the equation. But in terms of just which guy, if I'm like making a lineup and ownership doesn't matter, I would want Herb Jones before Sohan.
Just going to put this recommendation out. If you're going to cross people off for not being good recently, you're going to have a hard time in DFS.
You're going to cross people off for not being good in general. It's all a pricing game. Like, this slate should illustrate that to you. We have a game with a 260-point total that is not unowned, but pretty low owned, with a lot of good players in it. It's all a pricing game.
Yes, it is. And finally, the Utah Jazz, 15% ownership coming into Colin Sexton. 13 to Keontae George, single digits across the board for everybody else. No Jordan Clarkson, no John Collins, but a probable tag on Walker Kessler and Lauri Markkanen. What are you getting to from Utah?
Keontae George. I had 30%. Again, this is one that probably just comes down, but yeah, I'm definitely throwing him in that Caleb Martin, Jaime Jaquez bucket of, I get it, but why? He's projected for like 13% ownership. With these guys out, he does look good enough, but the matchup does suck. There are plenty of point guard options. He doesn't have any other eligibility, so don't really know why I was getting so much. Probably changes. Wouldn't hold me to that one. But other than that, not really getting to Utah.
No, it's tough now with those guys back. You get Markkanen back in this lineup, that's gonna slow people down a little bit from getting to it. Collins being out doesn't really change anything all that much. Kessler's totally fine at 6,300, but it's just wildly unappealing for what we see for the rest of this slate.
Yeah, Colin Sexton's the other guy getting double-digit ownership. Sure. He can score. He'll have a bigger role probably off the bench, I assume, but yeah, it's just still, it's an unappealing game. And I think we've already gotten, I keep harping on the Pels. It's not just that we got value, like cheap guys opening up there, but they're playing the Wizards instead of the Knicks.
Anything else you want to touch on before we duck on out of here and turn this bad boy over to the live before lock crew? Oh, just to confirm for everybody, because I think it's the only real interesting piece we have left. You're treating the Lakers as those guys are in until they're not.
Yeah, that's how I'm handling it. That's just how I always handle it.
Okay. All righty. Well, folks, that is going to do it. To the 2,400 people that are in this room, hit the like button if you can. NBA Live Before Lock coming up next. They are going to take you all the way up until 7 p.m. Good luck tonight, everybody. We'll talk to you again later.
Yo, it's that time of week again. Time to induct you fine people into the Hall of Fame here at Stokastic.com and give out this week a lot of free subs up to $200 value. And all you got to do to get in on the action, download the Stokastic profile pick at Stokastic.com/avatar. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. As you'll see, doesn't matter if it's the dime, the quarter arcade, no matter what, as long as it's top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. If you're rocking the avatar and you tweet those wins to us, it's Stokastic HOF. You get a free month of any Stokastic package you want, and of course, inducted into the Hall of Fame. Let's get going. First up, Squirrel 2112 started listening in and using the Stokastic tools this football season. Last night, took down a live final ticket or seat thanks to the whole Stokastic crew. Beautiful stuff. WFFC ticket from Squirrel. And then next up, you've got Carson Shepard. Been listening to content for a while now. Couldn't have done it without the support. Thank you. First place, like I said, dime package, 10 cents to enter into $100. And guess what? You get the free month. All of our tools if you didn't have them yet. Sean Geezy's on a heater again. Took down both 10K mini maxes last night with unique lineups. Shout out to the Stokastic crew for the best tools in the game. Shout out to you, Sean, because here he is again. Best tools and content in the game. You guys are incredible. There was a third one here, but we have too many slides, so I deleted it. But just know, Sean on an absolute tear in the DK streets. Patrick Daly, do I qualify, Lafayette and Josh? I sure hope so. I don't know how many you chopped with. We'll have to look. But nonetheless, some really nice wins for Patrick in the NBA showdown streets. And Kevin Cutler, another tournament win, took down the piggy bank this time, but they all count. You're damn right they do. Thanks to the usual suspects at Stokastic. Cue the lights, baby, for Kevin Cutler, first place in the piggy bank. Ricky Anthony, thanks to all the content guys. Good Sunday win for me. Hell yeah, second place. Right behind him, man. A couple points, $2,000 though for J6. And Hem downstairs, I'll take it. Lineup generator for the win. Lineup generator has been coming through big lately. Took third in the $3 max for $400. And Namdi tied second in the NBA 15K mini max. Thanks for the tools. Namdi again took down the NFL showdown tonight. Thanks for the tools. Namdi again. Stokastic on that fire. Today again taking down another one, second place in the NBA 5K mini max. So Geezy and Namdi dueling heaters here going into the week. Mr. 586, yes sir, 25 cents. Thanks guys. 25 cents into $500. Massive ROI for Mr. Woods 586. Foul wow, shout out to the whole crew. Content stays good and the Sims tools are hitting well. Unfortunately, didn't get this lineup in the higher contest, but still, nice ROI for the night. Took down the nickel piggyback. Well, now you can get it in some of the higher contests. Foul wow. Jason Jordan split the quarter jukebox and the dime package. A win's a win thanks to the best biz in the world. Willie Jenkins. Stokastic's Datas and Sims tool is by far the best in the industry. Tied second in the $1.20 max contest last night. Another one for Willie Jenkins. Josh Los Angeles. I love this guy. Appreciate the content, tools, and support. What is this? Fadeaway. First place, the quarter entry, first place out of 72,000 for Josh. $400 win there. Followed up by Clutch. Another NBA quarter jukebox takedown. Thanks to the team. See, the tools don't just work for the bigger contests. We're talking everything here. And Buckwheat, Stokastic Hall of Fame. And again, since I didn't get the correct screen grab last time, can I get an extra month for the 2 in the top 3? But on a serious note, appreciate all the guys at Stokastic. I listen daily. Appreciate you too, Buckwheat. And Mo Terps, is this good? I'd say it is. Little owner's box action. Second place there. And we rounded out with Idea Girl 13. Just saying thanks. Tied herself for third place in the quarter jukebox. Remember, guys, download the Stokastic avatar at Stokastic.com/avatar. Tweet those wins. Stokastic HOF. Get a free month. $200 value. Get inducted into the Hall of Fame. And we'll see you back here next week for another edition.
Pretty chill when you think about it. Craig's never ready. Or he's always ready. No, it's one of the two.
The state never changes.
Hmm.
What is happening, everybody? It is Wednesday. It's time for Live Before Lock, and you guys are going to want to stick around, not just for the entirety of the show leading up to Lock, but after Lock as well, because, Eric, we got a ton of players and important ones on the injury report today. We did get news a little while ago that Zion Williamson is going to be out, but still got Anthony Davis questionable, LeBron James questionable, Desmond Bane is questionable. So these are very important players. Then, you got other guys like Tari Eason being questionable, Emmanuel Quickly questionable, Vanderbilt questionable. So these are other players that could also impact some of the value on the slate. But we got the biggies at the top, obviously, the Lakers guys and Desmond Bane, which could really change stuff as we go here. So if you guys haven't done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Shout out to Underdog, who is sponsoring the show today. Eric is wearing an Underdog shirt as well, which he has on Inside Out, which he didn't realize until right before the show started. But if you guys sign up at Underdog, got a good deal going. Thursday Night Football, Austin Eckler, over under 0.5 total yards. And I think we already felt pretty good about the over on that, Eric. But then we also just found out that Keenan Allen's going to be out, which is going to boost the projection for Austin Eckler even a little bit more. So Austin Eckler, over 0.5 total yards. Sign up at Underdog using the link we have below. You're getting up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit. And then go and start building your bankroll by playing over 0.5 total yards for Austin Eckler. Eric, we got a lot of players on the injury report tonight, and we'll be hitting on that. But first, how did last night go for you amidst the Nikola Jokic situation?
Yeah, Donovan Mitchell was smashing until he wasn't. I don't know. Drew Holiday decided to be his daddy in the fourth quarter, so that was unenjoyable. Jokic was a disaster. That was awful. Let's see what else happened. Oh, I pivoted to all the Metu and all the Okogie. One of those went well. One of them did not. It was just a clusterfuck. It was a tough night. I think a lot of people felt it, but had some decent, had like one or two stray lineups. That tends to happen from time to time where it's like it avoided some of the landmines. It had a lot of the chalk that went off. Again, I didn't like Austin Reeves relative to the way he was way more popular too, like 50% in like the $8, the $4, everything like that. So overall, didn't end up being a profitable night there, but betting went well. So kind of the inverse of what's been happening for me lately in the NBA streets.
I had the honor. I went through. I had the highest scoring Nikola Jokic lineup last night.
Oh, congratulations. So go F yourself, San Diego.
290 points in the $15 last night. I had a few live lineups. They kind of burned out, though, by the Clippers blowout because I had three lineups that finished in the top 60 in the $15 last night. Yeah. And one of them, which got as high as being, I think, like 15th or something at one point. But then it was one of the lineups had James Harden and Keegan Murray. One of the other lineups had Kawhi Leonard. And actually another one of the lineups had Paul George in it, if I remember correctly. So it was ones that just kind of, just petered out for different reasons. Paul George gets injured in the second half of that game. And then also just had the Clippers-Kings game ended up being a blowout. So it didn't really get much as far as the second half performances out of those guys. But overall, I had 48% Nikola Jokic and profited yesterday. I don't know whether to feel good or bad about that.
You should feel good. Like sometimes, like there's going to be a lot of days where guys just don't play well. Like Jokic, there's no guarantee that he completely nukes the slate there. Although I'd say he was on pace for a pretty automatic triple-double based on the early box score there. Would have probably needed him to step it up there in terms of usage, but you just kind of never know where it's going to come from. But you just try to build the best lineups you can every single time and try to leave the rest of it out of it. But yeah, that's never a good feeling when you go back and look and see, oh yeah, I have the highest ranking, the guy that if he normally puts up his projection, like 65, you're winning everything. But, them's the breaks, Greg. And today I think I have a feeling that you're going to bank the $15 today.
Maybe. We'll see. It's going to really depend on us getting some of these injury situations right. And where I want to start is we'll talk about the Pelican situation because that game does lock in the first slot of the night. Yeah, we've only have two games that are locking at 7 p.m. Eastern time, Sixers, Pistons, and then Pelicans, Wizards. And this is not one of these spots, Eric, where we could wait for later news because with Zion Williamson out for the Pelicans, we're going to want to play some of these guys. So what are you going to be doing with the Pelicans, who are right now the chalk of the slate, but very, very understandable with Zion out? Who are you prioritizing from New Orleans?
Well, I mean, I think it's going to also depend. There's some different iterations of a starting lineup. I assume it's going to be Trey Murphy, but that's not a guarantee that ends up being the guy who gets plugged in there. Right now, Najee Marshall is pulling crazy ownership to me, like absolutely crazy ownership. But every other Pelican for me, I'm very happy to be clicking on their name and moving on with my life. Brandon Ingram, Herbert Jones, Jonas Valanciunas, probably my favorite play of the entire slate at 6,700. It can't be stated enough. Like, if he's going to be closing basketball games and he's going to get a front court here in Washington, I mean, Jonas Valanciunas is such a smash in his current iteration. So I'm going to have a lot of Pelicans, but the thing I'm mainly paying attention to, one, the closing lineup, and two, what we get for the starting lineup, which is a little bit less of a thing that you're trying to guess on. So Najee Marshall, I mean, 40%, that's just a lot of Najee Marshall.
Yeah, so I'm looking at my lineups, which are going to change before we get to lock once players get ruled in, get ruled out, and we get more information. But of the Pelicans guys, which is a team I get a lot of exposure to, I did only land on 16% Najee Marshall in my last run. So I'm well underweight to the field on Marshall. In terms of the priorities for me, number one, I got to the most of Valanciunas, and he's my most rostered player on the entire slate as of right now. JV number one.
So we're on the same page. Cool. That's fun.
Then the subsequent players I'm getting to from the Pelicans in order. And by the way, these are all guys who are in 30+% of my lineups. Brandon Ingram, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, CJ McCollum. Of those guys, though, the only one I have an over 50% of my lineups is Valanciunas, and he's my most rostered player on the entire slate right now.
I think he's just going to absolutely decimate the slate today. Like, he is, I haven't been, it's hard to be confident in Jonas Valanciunas over the years because the minutes have such volatility from time to time. But between the matchup and just no Larry Nance existing there, he had already started to fall away a little bit in the rotation. But Jonas Valanciunas is just a Hulk smash for me today at this number.
Yeah, so those are the guys. And I think we're more or less on the same page because, like you had said, also, I'm underweight to the field on Najee Marshall. He's the one guy. It's not like I'm fading him. I have 16%, but that's, well less than what the field has right now. And then Valanciunas, Ingram, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, CJ McCollum, all guys that I have in lineups. And I don't have any lineups with more than 4 Pelicans players right now. What is the cap? And obviously for FanDuel, the answer is 4. For DraftKings, what is the most Pelicans be having in a lineup? 3, 4, 5? What would we be going with?
I have some with 4. I'm not going to play 5. I know for a fact I'm not going to play 5, but I'm fine to play 4. I mean, you could get to a combination of McCollum, Jones, Ingram, Valanciunas over and over and over and over and over and over, like your Marshawn Lynch.
Over and over and over and over again. Super chat.
Running through a dude's face.
Is by the way, Jordan, do we start with Ace of Spade? I mean, I'm probably going to start with Ace of Spade anyway. He's left his normal super chat here. But are any of those other questions for this show, or are they all from the last show? All right. Ace of Spade is asking us, Eric, wager a guess. What do you think he's asking us about?
FanDuel.
The fact that Eric can't get this right really speaks to how dumb he is. We had the same question from Ace
of
Spade.
Kidding, dude. No
clue.
I'm kidding.
I think you didn't know.
I was joking. Why are you the way that you are all the time?
He wants to know about DK tiers, Eric.
I know he does, Greg. God, you're such a jerk face. Don't like you.
By the way, do you have tiers lineups, or should I just?
I do have tiers lineups. I have them literally on cue, like I do every freaking show. But go ahead. Tell me how terrible I am at my job. Tell me how awful I am. I'm sure YouTube chat will do it for you anyway. Huh, Greg? Okay.
Well, I mean, in fairness, you didn't know. We get the same question. We start every show with, other than the time you may or may not have kidnapped Ace of Spade.
I was choked.
And you had no clue.
Put the lotion in the basket. Put the lotion on the skin.
Tier 1 is Giannis for me.
Yes, it is Giannis.
Tier 2 is tricky because I really don't know what to make of LeBron James and Anthony Davis anymore.
Trae Young.
Next talking point that I want to bring up because I think there's a chance that one of LeBron and AD, one of them plays, the other one sits. In that kind of scenario, you want to be playing the other one here. If both of them sit, which I still do think is the most likely scenario, I'm going to go with Trae Young. I'm also going to say the betting market very, very much thinks that the Lakers are sitting, both LeBron and AD.
Sure does.
The Spurs have lost how many games in a row? 16, 17 or something like that. And the spread is only, it was 2.5. Now it's moved to 3.5. So maybe some people are starting to think, hey, maybe the Lakers play their guys. But clearly that line indicates that the market is not expecting LeBron James and Anthony Davis to play tonight. So anyway, I'm going to go with Trae Young for now in tier 2. But it does come with the caveat that if LeBron and AD, if one of them sits, the other one plays, that's who you want to be going with in that tier.
Yeah, and you'll have half an hour buffer. I mean, I doubt we'll have to sit around and wait, wish, hope you believe in superstitions. Maybe you'll see the sign. That's Jack Johnson. Sorry.
Just a little stitious.
Oh.
Here's a question. As far as LeBron and AD go, what do you think is going to happen with them sitting arrested?
No clue. I have no idea. None. Do you have any? Because like the market, looking at it last night, I mean, it's been this way since last night when I did my betting video, and I kind of just stared at it for a while. And I ran it through, and obviously, if they both play, you're in a really good spot. If you take the Lakers here at the current numbers or last night's numbers, you're in a really bad spot if they don't. But I mean, the betting market definitely thinks that they're sitting, but I don't think it's that clear cut. I mean, I think it's just like, hey, you feeling good? We lost yesterday. I think they were trying to capture that game because they felt like, hey, if we're going to sit somebody in either one of these, we can still beat the Spurs with our reserves. But like, obviously, for our purposes, for DFS purposes here right now, I mean, I have no clue. Obviously, you'd want to jam Lakers in the event that they sit. You don't really want to play any of them beyond what, like, there's reasonable ownership on them. Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be one of those things. I have no idea how to project it.
So here's a question then. If you think it's truly 50-50, we don't know whether LeBron and AD, whether one of them play, they both sit. Should we be betting the Lakers at -3.5 then?
Again, I've been going through the motions of this nonstop because last night I was like, oh, I'm betting the Spurs and I hope that they absolutely sit LeBron and AD because they're definitely going to do that. And then I looked at the number at open and it was like, what? Plus 165 is the best number I can get on this? What are we doing here? I'm probably with you where I think betting 3 on the Lakers is the right side of it. But again, I have no lean for it. I have no idea how to read the tea leaves with that basketball team in particular on a back-to-back. LeBron's in year, 21? AD has had 80 stuff his entire career. Like, conventional wisdom tells me they sit, but again, I have no clue. No clue.
Let's go through the rest of the tiers here. And once again, we'll get into more detail if these guys do sit, how we'd end up approaching that situation. But tier 3, I am going to be going with my arch nemesis, Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler.
How about you?
Tyrese Maxey.
Tier 4. That is going to be Scotty Barnes for me. I'm getting to so much exposure to the Raptors, and I hope we get the Lakers news before that Raptors game starts, or else I'm going to have to be doing some adjustments.
It's Victor Wembanyama for me, but it's with the caveat that if they change the starting lineup or Anthony Davis is active, I'm going to have to actually tweak some stuff in terms of his projection because Anthony Davis is a defensive piece that should move a guy like Victor Wembanyama's projection a little bit. We don't talk about it a ton on shows anymore, but it needs to at least be stated that, like, you take an important player off the floor from a defensive perspective, it should inherently change the projection of every other player on the other side of it. But yet it doesn't. Just about everywhere. It just doesn't. People don't change that stuff because, it doesn't change the minutes and the projection of what the rotation is and the pace of the matchup and so on and so forth. But like Victor Wembanyama starting at the 5, the rebound rate has been out of control. And so I love getting to him. I would have him definitely as the guy to play if there's no AD.
Yeah, a couple things we've seen from Wemby. He plays better when he's at center and also plays way better when Trey Jones is on the court because he gets an actual point guard who Wemby's like a cheat code. All you have to do is throw the ball up in the air. He's going to catch and he could dunk without.
Yeah, but Jeremy Sohan passes about as well as you and me, and we don't pass ever because, just look at our shows. It's literally terrible bits like this, and then just the handoff of a terrible transition where I kind of like mumbling. Like
no passing at all. No passing at all. Tier 5, another Raptors player for me, Pascal Siakam. Same. Tier 6, this one's become made fairly easy with Zion sitting. It is going to be Brandon Ingram.
By a mile. Well, actually not by a mile. Only got him for 2 more fantasy points than McCollum. So you're just playing a Pelican there.
Yeah. It's clearly one of those two. I go towards Ingram still fairly easily, but a big gap between Ingram, McCollum, and everybody else. Phil Senzig. People are really trying to make other sort of bits here, and Phil Senzig wants to know, what is the lotion play of the night?
Oh, put the lotion on the skin. I like it. Put the lotion on the skin.
What is the lotion? What is the lotion play? Is this like the handsome player you have the most exposure to?
I don't know. Is it the creepiest player that I have exposure to? Somebody who looks like a serial killer? What am I supposed to do? The Buffalo Bill of the slate?
I think you go with the player you're getting exposure to that you think is the most handsome, Eric.
Who do I think is a beautiful human being? Scotty Barnes has like that frame, those shoulders, but he's got like a goofy smile, so we can't go with him. Jimmy Butler is a conventionally handsome guy, but I don't have a ton of. My wife finds Jimmy Butler to be very attractive. Your arch nemesis, so there's that. Okay. Who's attractive? This is a really weird question. I should probably stop talking now.
You don't have any other answers?
Nope. That's what I got for you right now.
All right. I'm going to go with Victor Wembanyama. I like a very tall Frenchman.
And a teenager. What are you, Josh Giddey? What are you doing?
Well, first of all, we know the age of Wemby.
It's 19, right?
Yeah.
I guess. Go ahead.
Wemby's gonna. I don't know what the lotion play of the night is supposed to be. I'm just making it Wemby.
Okay, he's French. That probably bonus points for being French.
We've got Jack Hoff in the chat, who's very relevant to this conversation. He's going Landry Shamet. We've got opposite X. Oh no, that is Josh Gillum went with Bol Bol.
I played craps with Bol Bol. True story.
Oh, is there? Did the show cut out, or are people just upset about the conversation? Because somebody said the show is gone, which I'm not sure to mean like, hey, we've jumped the shark here, or is it just have we been taking off the internet?
The shark. Okay, it's fine.
Listen, I didn't know where else to go with that super chat we got. I don't know what the lotion play of the night is supposed to be.
I'm just trying to figure out what it is myself. If he wants to give us some context, I'm happy to answer the question. Basketball, please, boss, bro.
I just don't know.
Sam, because oh, it's a different. It had the same color of the thing. I thought Boss Bro then threw in his take on it, but anyway, we'll go back to basketball. That seems like a good idea.
Lakers situation. Couple of things. I'm with you. I don't really know what's going to happen with LeBron and AD. But are you making any kind of adjustments to your lineups based on the fact that's information we are going to want to have? And that game locks at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So there are 4 games that are going to be locking before it. One of which, New Orleans, Washington, is a game that you and I are going to have a lot of exposure to. But anyway, you're going to adjust your lineups to make sure you have flexibility to make swaps should the Lakers guys be ruled out.
Yeah. So I think one of the easiest things to do is just hand build out a few. Again, you use the Sims tool. I use the Sims tool. Everybody should be using the Sims tool at this point, but build out a couple of lineups by hand. This is what I was doing before the show. And I just kind of said, all right, New Orleans, who are my priorities? And I kind of mixed and matched pieces that I knew I would want from the Lakers side. D'Angelo Russell, if there's no LeBron and AD. And, Austin Reeves, if there's no LeBron James or Anthony Davis. But then also Christian Wood at 5K becomes really, really appealing at power forward center. I would want 0% of him if Anthony Davis plays basketball. So it's a very volatile type situation like that. They preemptively priced up Wood to 5K, a guy who's basically been a DNP-CD for how long? DNP-CD, yeah, you know me. He's played, 19 minutes in the month of December. But you have a completely different situation here with AD there. And we have Jared Vanderbilt that is waiting in the wings too, who could be very interesting at 4,100. So just have some lineups where you pre-build some Reeves, some Russell into them, see how they work salary-wise. And then if there's another player that can kind of be captured in that, I mean, Indy and Milwaukee, there's not a ton of it's so wild because the game has the most ridiculous total you've ever seen in your life, 258. But I'm not really getting to any of the mid-range there outside of a Miles Turner share here and there at 7,300. Buddy Hield a little bit. I think you could give them a boost, find your way onto some of those pieces, and then kind of mix and match your lineups later if Lakers news breaks.
My hope is just that we get the news before the Raptors game because these guys show up a good amount.
Dangerous thing. Hope.
Yeah, I know. I usually try to limit the amount of hope I have, but like as the way things look right now, I think OG Anunoby is a solid looking option. Jakob Poeltl as well. Scotty Barnes, Dennis Schroeder. These are guys who I get to in 20+% of my lineups. But what I'm going to have to do if we get to, 7:15, 7:20 p.m. Eastern time, we don't have that Lakers news, I'm going to have to do some ROI boost downgrades to these players so that I get more flexibility in my lineup. So That's how I'm going to approach it right now. I've got my lineups built at the moment as if LeBron and AD are in. So it's not like I'm getting to a whole bunch of these Lakers guys at the moment. And it kind of seems like that's the same for you, is it not?
Same. I mean, look at some of these price changes too on these Lakers. I mean, it is very, very obvious that DraftKings priced these mother truckers up. Like this was done on purpose, thank God. But like, it's still not enough. Like it's basically the books have this middled, and then this is absolutely middled as far as pricing. Like Rui Hachimura 4,900. Hello. Cam Reddish 5,300. What are we even doing here? I have him for 17 fantasy points right now. That wouldn't be a lot of fun to roster right now, but a lot of things can change here. Obviously, I think Russell and Reeves, the two guys I'm paying attention to the most with the LeBron news. With Anthony Davis, it would become Rui Hachimura, Christian Wood potentially, and then Jared Vanderbilt news matters too.
We've got, here's actually one other thing I think we could do with the Lakers before we move on to the other super chats and other questions we have. If LeBron and AD both sit, who are you prioritizing between D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves?
Probably Austin Reeves because of positionality.
I think it is that's actually a really good point. From just a fantasy perspective, I would lean towards Russell because I think Reeves is going to be so much more popular. But then again, I could end up running lineups and it's just so much easier to get to Reeves with a shooting guard and small forward eligibility. That could change it. I will say that if you're hand building one lineup and you're in between Reeves and Russell in a scenario where neither AD nor LeBron play, I'm going to pick D'Angelo Russell in that kind of scenario. On the low end, who is your favorite cheap guy from the Lakers if neither LeBron or AD play?
It could potentially be Jared Vanderbilt if he ends up playing, but like it's a back issue. I think there might be some kind of a minutes restraint. I mean, he hasn't played over 16 minutes at a game this season. I don't know if that's because he got inserted into a rotation where Rui entered the same time as he did, and it became kind of convoluted. We looked back at that yesterday. We kind of talked through that situation. I think Taurean Prince probably becomes interesting at 4,500. Jackson Hayes could end up starting at 4K. I mean, it's probably the right answer is probably whoever starts in the front court with AD out. Like if AD gets ruled out, Jackson Hayes starts. I think that would be the guy. If it ends up being Rui, who's somebody that I know you believe ends up being an interesting candidate. We talked about it before the second half of that game yesterday, where it's like, oh, maybe Rui can go out and smash and get himself, a start here in the second half. That would be the guy. I'm just going to leave it instead of like picking somebody specifically. Whoever that starter ends up being in the front court, that's the guy.
Yeah, it would probably be Rui is the guy that I want to get to. But I mean, something else to consider as well is how do the Lakers match up with a 7'4" Victor Wembanyama? I don't think you can go play Rui. Like, I don't. So there's two parts of this. Number one is like, Rui is much too small to be guarding him. But then the other part of it too is everybody's too small to be guarding him. So what does it matter? Maybe you just go out and you say, hey, Rui's a better player than Jackson Hayes. That's what we're going to go with. But overall, I do agree with you. I'm going to wait to see what that starting lineup is. And whoever it is that would start in place of AD in that scenario, I probably like getting to. But with that said, I think Rui starts either way. Rui's going to start in place of LeBron if LeBron's out.
I think that's a pretty good call. I honestly think Jared Vanderbilt matters because they could do like the Jared Vanderbilt plays the first 6 minutes or 8 minutes of each quarter thing, the first and third quarter. Like, I think that's very alive to happen too. So I think all three pieces of news matter a lot.
Got some more questions here. This is a super chat from Sotex who says, Eric, in his own way, Greg is telling you that he cares. I promise you that is not the case, Sotex. I absolutely promise you. Ryan Renabaum says top 3 value plays on FanDuel as well as the nuke of the night. All right, so we're getting super chats. He
last night, Donovan Mitchell had 40 with like 6 minutes left in the third and finished with 44. Do you know how run bad that is on a nuke of the night? I mean, he still was fine, but like that was some run bad.
Harden was very good. Harden was very good at the beginning of the game, and then there was a blowout. Didn't get to play much in the second half. But he's asking us for FanDuel, so he wants to know for FanDuel top 3 value plays, and then he wants a FanDuel nuke of the night. So here's a way that because
FanDuel one.
So we've got Captain Akella who's also asking us for a nuke of the night. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to answer Ryan's question for top 3 value plays on FanDuel, and then we'll do nuke of the night. I'll do one for FanDuel and you do one for DraftKings.
Sounds lovely.
All right. Top 3 value plays for FanDuel. One of them has to be Trey Murphy, who I assume starts. Yes. It's only $4,900. So let's go with Trey Murphy being one of them. And do we want to make this guys who are sub 5K? There aren't that many great sub 5K guys on FanDuel, but
yeah, I mean, Trey Murphy is by far the best of them. Trey Murphy's my boy. Everybody knows that by now, or maybe you don't, and you don't care. That's fine too. But I am very, very of the mind that 4,900 Trey Murphy, if I were playing FanDuel today, just jam and live to tell the tale.
Also, I'm going to go with Dyson Daniels at $4,200. And, it's hard to know exactly what the Pelicans are going to do in the absence of Zion, but Dyson Daniels is only projected for 10% ownership. And he's somebody who I think has the opportunity to play extra minutes. And in addition to that, he's going to get extra usage when he's on the court because we have no Zion. So there's going to be two of them for me.
Isaiah Jackson, my guy for FanDuel for tournaments. That would be where I would be looking.
I'm going to cheat on one here as well. And I'm going to say Derrick Rose with the potential of Desmond Bane sitting. $4,500 for Derrick Rose over on FanDuel. That's another potential one.
That would be even better. Yes, that would be awesome.
Then and then he wants to know the nuke of the night. So Jordan, play the animation. And Eric, you're going to do it for DraftKings and I'll do it for FanDuel right after that.
Perfect.
Look at him go. Haven't seen Eric ride something big like that since... Nuke of the nighttime, Eric. Here we go.
Why don't you start it?
Who is going? Sorry, what's that?
I'm a jerk. Sorry, I'm talking over you a lot today. I said you start it. I'm looking up a number. So I'm waiting for my. I have the guy. I just need the spreadsheet to fix itself quick.
Gotcha.
So I can give the numbers.
Gotcha. All right. So if we're looking at the nuke of the night for FanDuel, here's somebody who I think is immense upside today, but the field isn't really playing all that much. I do prefer him on FanDuel to DraftKings as well. $9,100 at point guard, ownership in the teens. Damian Lillard taking on Tyrese Halliburton and the Indiana Pacers. Damian Lillard's always been a guy who is a pretty wide range of outcomes for fantasy purposes, but we know the ceiling is super high. We haven't seen too many crazy high ceiling games this year for Dame. A matchup against the Pacers is definitely one that can come out. He's going to be guarded by Tyrese Halliburton, who Halliburton might be the best offensive player in the NBA so far this season. Overall, it's Jokic, but so far this season, Halliburton's putting up just bonkers video game type numbers, but he is just as bad on defense as he is good on offense. So I think this is a very good matchup for Damian Lillard. He has modest ownership. He is an incredibly high ceiling. So nuke of the night on FanDuel for me, that is going to be Dame Dollar, Damian Lillard. Eric, is your spreadsheet done loading?
Yeah, I got everything that I'm looking at here. My nuke of the night. He's good, I think, for FanDuel purposes as well, where you get the blocks and steals bump. But Jaren Jackson Jr. currently has 1% ownership. 1. Now, that will change, and people will make priorities to get there if Desmond Bane's there. But as opposed to other pieces, like these mid-range pieces, it's hard to make the swap into an 8K Jaren Jackson Jr., depending on when this news drops. We have an hour and a half till that game tips off. We also have listed there that Lakers game, so maybe people are going to preload their lineups in a certain way. But we're going to be doing the half hour after show where we're going to be covering Underdog. We're going to be covering any news that changes. But the big thing that we're waiting for is what is going to end up happening with LeBron James, with Anthony Davis. And that is going to tell me that people are going to possibly overinvest in that spot and underinvest in some of these Memphis guys. And it'll be easy to get to Rose, to Roddy, to Aldama, to anybody in that 4 to 6K range. But if you don't preload some Jaren Jackson at 8K, it's going to be much more difficult to get into your lineups. The guy is just a block machine. It's been down. His block rate's been down to 5.8% from the 9.5% it was at last season. But that's still elite beyond elite. You get him out on the floor without Desmond Bane this season, he's got a 33.4% usage, by far the highest on this team. So him, Marcus Smart out. Son of a bitch.
Eric is updating his lineups, apparently. Is that what's going on, Eric? You updating your lineups, or did your camera just turn off on you for other reasons?
It's updating my lineups.
Come back to us. He's back. He's back. Are you done with your nuke of the night analysis, by the way?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to more super chats. Then Eric Traub has left us a super chat. This is a tip to tip, a turtle, and then a dove emoji. I think I saw those correctly. So tip to tip, turtle, dove. What does that mean? What do the turtle and the dove mean?
Two turtle dash. It's the
Exactly.
old guy from Home Alone.
Corey Shea says he's late to the party. Who is the nuke of the night and the exotic play? Yeah, so we
Desmond Bain ruled out. Fuck. Everything I just said doesn't matter anymore. Gosh.
All right. So, by the way, but before we got the super chat about top value plays on FanDuel, I had just started rerunning lineups again, and it doesn't matter because now everything is going to have to be redone. But anyway, we did have the question earlier about top value plays. I feel even better about the one I had said before with Derrick Rose being a top value play on FanDuel. And then Corey Shea saying, who is the nuke of the night in the exotic play? I went with Damian Lillard for my nuke of the night on FanDuel. Eric, would you like to change your nuke of the night for DK?
Let me rerun Memphis stuff, and we got to get a ownership update. I will do one more nuke of the night. How about that? At lock, I'll give you a new nuke of the night.
Oh, all right. That'll be very helpful for people 30 seconds before the show, before the slate starts.
Wait, no, but I'm saying... I'm trying to be helpful. I'm just going to need a second.
Not that hard. This is the most important thing we do of the entire day is nuke of the night. You're like, hey, I'll do it for you guys later.
Well, maybe if you don't have crappy nukes of the night and...
See, here's the problem. Eric has resigned himself. Instead of trying to win at DFS, he's going to give out the best nuke of the night every night. So now everything is focused on the nuke of the night.
No, it's
Stack
not.
up, Eric. Tell the people who
literally waiting till lock so I can just basically restructure everything. No, I'm not going to give one yet.
All right.
Victor Wembanyama. There you go. Nuke of the night. I'm way over on Victor.
All right. There we go. It's clearly a very well thought out answer. We've got Olrat 14 who is asking us how far you move up Murphy. I think Trey Murphy is one of the best plays on the entire slate for both DraftKings and FanDuel.
Same.
And then he says, I still play SoCan on DK. Yeah, I think SoCan is somebody to roster as well. But as far as who would I rather play, Trey Murphy or SoCan, I'll be getting more exposure to Trey Murphy, I believe. I think I answered the question correctly.
Definitely. I kind of heard what you said and kind of understood it, but also you've been very mean to me, and now I'm not happy.
No, I'm just being honest. We're at 14 asked. So the first part of the question was, how far do you move up Murphy? He's one of my most rostered players.
Same, but now there's also going to be some big thotty roddy, and there's going to be some mid-range Memphis dudes. We're going to be walking in Memphis with our feet off of Beal.
Yeah, big body Roddy. That's apparently Eric's type. He's going for big body Roddy today. And then, yeah, we're at 14. I think SoCan is somebody who's in play. I prefer Trey Murphy, though. Ben Anthony, does Derrick Rose get a bump if Bane is out? He'd asked that before Bane was ruled out. The answer is yes. Derrick Rose is a very strong option.
He is very strong.
Phil Senzig. Sims love Isaiah Jackson on FanDuel. What is your exposure? I have a feeling that if you rerun everything after these latest updates, that is going to change because a lot more value just opened up.
Yeah. Now, so yeah, FanDuel. It was I ran some lineups over there, and then my camera shut off because it hated me as a result. But that was what I brought up. Isaiah Jackson was going to be one of the better leverage plays over there. That is not the case anymore.
He's somebody who he's much better looking on FanDuel and DraftKings because of the defensive stats you could get out of him. So there's still a ceiling there. And he's somebody who, if you're looking to differentiate a line of make a contrarian, you could go to Isaiah Jackson. It's a little bit unnecessary now, though, considering the players that have just been ruled out and Desmond Bain, the extra value it opens up. Corey Shea, another follow-up question, says, how about Jalen Noel now? So we saw a game where Noel started not all that long ago. Let me pull this up. Jalen Noel played like the entire game. Was terrible.
Of course the Pelicans just ruined our lives. Of course they just ruined our lives. And I just got everything updated. Pelicans will start McCollum, Daniels, Jones, Ingram, Valanciunas. Why would you do this to me?
So Dyson Daniels, who before we talked about being somebody who we could see get extra run in the absence of Zion Williamson. So Trey Murphy now. Trey Murphy becomes still somebody who I think we want to get to, but he's a little bit less appealing now than he otherwise was 2 minutes ago. Lots of changes here. Lots of changes. Pelicans starting lineup, by the way, CJ McCollum, Dyson Daniels, Herb Jones, Brandon Ingram, Jonas Valanciunas. In terms of the priorities, Valanciunas, Ingram, McCollum, definitely really strong options. Murphy takes a little bit of a haircut now. Dyson Daniels, probably my least favorite of the 5 starters, even though he is in play. Fair to say that?
Yes.
And then as
Very
for the
fair.
question on Jalen Noel, I want to see what that starting lineup is for the Grizzlies, because we saw this team shorthanded a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, December 2nd against the Phoenix Suns, we saw Noel start and play 34 and a half minutes.
Yep.
He missed basically every single shot he took. I think he went like 1 of 9 from 3 that game. But if we see him in the starting lineup again after he played 34 minutes in his last start, yeah, he's somebody you're going to want to roster.
Well, also, it's Christmas, and he's the first Noel.
It's not Christmas. Do you have to pretend it's Christmas to shoehorn in dumb song parody things?
Well, Jordan Klein loved it. He is dying over
No, he didn't. He's laughing. I will guarantee you, Jordan is
like, what in the world
Jordan
am I doing?
He is secondhand embarrassed for you, is why he's laughing. He wasn't like, oh my God, that's hilarious. Like, I can't believe I'm friends with this person who would embarrass himself in front of thousands of people on the internet.
Would you
I
say,
know I'm
how
right.
is Eric not saying no? Oh, did you predict what was going to happen ahead of time? That's what happened. That's why you're losing your mind. You know me so well that you knew exactly what I was going to do.
Oh, fellas, this is why we enjoy our sex so much together. We just know each other.
It's just giggles. It's just giggles.
We just get it. We just get it. Some more super chats. This one is from Goody, who says Indy and Milwaukee, massive over-under, but he doesn't have one player from the game. Plenty of value, just cost prohibitive. There's nobody from the game that I'm saying is like one of my favorite overall plays on the slate, but Damian Lillard I like quite a bit on FanDuel, and Giannis I think is somebody who's a good pay-up option on DraftKings as well. I see what you're saying in terms of it's weird that nobody's like a crazy high priority from that game considering the total, but there's a lot of value on the slate that is better from a points per dollar sense. Is there anything you're getting to a lot of from Indiana or Milwaukee?
No, and I would love to, and I can guarantee you there's going to be a lot of players. If you go back through, and one of the most underutilized things here at Stokastic period is the post-contest sims. Looking through the lineups of other players, top players, people that other people consider top players, if you will. There's going to be people that try to bundle Giannis, Halliburton, or Giannis, Lillard, Turner, or Lopez, Halliburton, Giannis. Like, there's going to be packages of those guys. The problem is that, as he said in the super chat itself, you kind of answered your own question. There's a lot of salary constraint issues. Giannis is 11.4, Tyrese Halliburton's 11.1, Lillard's 9,600. You want to get 2 of those 3 guys in the game environment that goes for 275 probably, but like, you got to piece it together with other guys, and they're all 5K plus, all the guys you want to be getting to. I don't want to play top in or down on this entire slate. And then Bobby Portis is a luxury item. Malik Beasley's a luxury item. I think Bennedict Mathurin, we saw what that ceiling can be, but again, these teams just matched up. I mean, the 5 players that I want to get to the most from that game are the centers and the 3 studs. Like, it's just salary. That's the major issue.
Some more questions that are coming in here. This one is from Fantasy Guru 76. He wants to know best value small forward and must play power forward on FanDuel. So the best. All right. So best value small forward and must play power forward. Best value small forward.
Herbert Jones for FanDuel, 5,800. It's not Trey Murphy anymore over there, even though 4,900, he's still pretty good.
I mean, I still want to say the answer is Brandon Ingram at small forward.
I don't think you're actually wrong with that.
It's 7,800. I know it's not like we think of as terms of value, but he's way too cheap on FanDuel at 78. So I'll give you 2 here. So one I'm going to say as Ingram. The other, I'm going to say if we're going to somebody who's actually cheap at small forward. Cheap small forward, FanDuel. But there just aren't that many guys that I like. David Roddy at 4,400 now that Bane's out.
Big Thaddy Roddy. Thaddy Roddy. Let's go.
Must play power forward. Must play power forward on FanDuel. I'm going to say Jimmy Butler at 8,600 against Charlotte.
I don't hate it.
All right. Next super chat here. And by the way, if you guys haven't done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And in a second here, Jordan, let's pull up the Memphis Grizzlies updated projections. We'll show that on screen after we bang out the rest of these super chats. This one here is Zachary Pinnell. Is it dumb to play AD and Wemby in the same lineup? No. I mean, if AD doesn't play, then yes, but or else it's not anything that's really an issue. As long as AD is in.
Oh,
cool.
He shouldn't take a 0. Great information you're giving him, Greg.
Well, he asked if it was dumb. I'm telling him the scenario that it would be dumb. As of right now, I don't have an issue with them being in the same lineup together. Jonathan Bennett says he just got home. Oh, well, I hope you had a good travels there. Always like to get travel updates on everybody and where they were and where they are now. Top plays at each position, please. And thank you, fellas. Love your stuff. So
we love you too.
Overall plays at each position. Point guard is going to be Derrick Rose for me now.
Same.
Shooting guard,
Brandon Ingram with DK.
I'm going to say Dyson Daniels at shooting guard just so I can say Ingram at small forward.
That's chill. That's chill.
Power forward favorite option. What's Triple J at 8? Yeah, I can't call him my favorite at 8K. I still have to update everything here. Favorite power forward. Honestly, with the value that's opening up, it might end up being Giannis.
Oh, okay. It was still going to be Herb Jones for me.
Yeah, it might end up being Giannis for me with the extra value we're getting when we update lineups. Center for me, that is going to be Valanciunas. Pretty easy.
Valanciunas pretty easy. He is my favorite play of the day still.
Cheers, bro. What am I doing with the Pels in DK Cash? You're playing a bunch of them. You're playing Valanciunas. You're playing Ingram. You're playing Dyson Daniels now. Honestly, you could play the entire starting lineup.
Yep.
You're playing
pretty
a
much.
bunch of them.
Yeah, you're going to definitely play, without a doubt, Valanciunas, Brandon Ingram, and then probably Dyson Daniels. Like Dyson Daniels probably falls into cash now too.
The next question that we have here is from Sam Van Dam. Says best shitty flat 3K shooting guard on DK. I don't know if there is one today.
That was very vicious. I mean, 3K shooting guard?
3K
flat
shooting
3K?
guard. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot that I don't have projected for points. I'm looking three. So they're talking just sub 4K. So he's saying all the 3K guys?
Has to be flat 3K.
I don't have somebody.
Yeah,
I don't have
either.
Who would you possibly be talking about? I'm assuming maybe he's going to say, like, are you looking 3,400 Zaire Williams is the only guy falling into any lineups for me at that, like, sub 4K shooting guard.
But he needs it to be 3K flat.
Yeah,
honestly, Sam, if you only have 3K left in your lineup with the shooting guard spot, I would move some players around your lineup a little bit.
I would definitely move players around your lineup.
You're going to be playing somebody you don't want to play. Phil Senzig, how fast do projections on the site move to the Sims? Within like a minute or so. It's very quick. You do have to refresh though. So just refresh the page and it'll be like a minute and everything's updated. Will Griffey, I'm hand building one lineup in the $15 fadeaway on DK. Who should I prioritize at point guard and center, high end and value? Thanks. At center, you want to prioritize Valanciunas. At point guard, I think you're prioritizing Derrick Rose now.
There you go. Easy enough.
And then high end and value on the high end. If you're paying up for one guy tonight, Eric, who's the one pay up option you're getting to?
Giannis.
That is going to be my answer as well. If we're not considering like Ingram a pay up option.
Yeah.
My filler is John Conchar a good play with Bane out. He is pretty exotic. You are right about that. He is pretty exotic. I don't think I'm going to be getting to very much of Conchar. Can you put the projections up on screen here, Jordan? And we could show the people what we are getting as far as the projections over at Stochastic. And we'll look at the Memphis players. Keep in mind, we've got a good amount of value on the slate now.
Yeah. Keep in mind also that they're doing some weird stuff with their rotations too, Memphis is. I mean, we've seen Roddy. I mean, Noel, I think is going to be the guy that ends up starting. I think the starting five ends up being Rose, Noel, Roddy, Aldama, Jackson Jr. I think it's just more of a minutes thing for Conchar. I mean, I only have him for 18 minutes, so I'm not getting to him.
We only have him projected. Also, he's not, I mean, he's cheap, but like relative. He's $3,900 on DraftKings.
Yeah.
And we have him projected for 15 fantasy points at $3,900. That's not all that desirable.
It is not. But I mean, I think what he's doing is he's looking at the box score, and two of his last three, He's shown up, played what, 22, 17, 25 minutes. The thing is, you're going to see a couple extra minutes if he's knocking down shots, and you're going to probably be happy with 22, 24 fantasy points, or he's not, and he's going to play 16, 17 minutes, and you are drawing dead on a slate with much better value. So it's kind of an iffy proposition. Yeah, there's some meat on the bone at 3,900 where you could see this work out, but for me, I don't want to get in the habit of going too thin on guys like that on a 9-game slate where there's just far more secure value that exists.
By the way, this is a slate where you guys are going to want to use the late swap tool for sure over on the site. And if you haven't signed up at Stochastic, we got links below to sign up for the NBA package we have, and everything's included if you sign up for the NBA package. You get the contest generator, you get the Sims tool. And Jordan, if you have the tweet, Curtis James signed up at Stochastic recently, and he sends us his tweet. He says, been using the tool for 2 weeks now and finally took home the win in the $4 20 max. So it's like he's like 2 weeks, like, oh my God, 2 weeks. Finally, I ended up winning after 2 weeks. So you see that, yeah, right there. K James over on so Curtis James there. First place in the $4, wins $7,500. It took him 2 weeks to win a GPP, but he did.
Oh no, the horror!
Curtis, I'm sorry you had to wait the 2 weeks, but the tool is paid for itself the entire year.
I just pulled up Rotor Tracker, and it's like I have a second place that I split 3 ways on a shorter slate this season. And because of it, the $4 is the ROI, the contest that I have by far the highest ROI on. $7,500 is going to last you the rest of the season playing the $4. You could like lose every single slate, $0 on the comeback, and you're still going to be up money. So phenomenal stuff. Congratulations. You'll love to see it.
I would recommend you don't lose every slate going forward, but I think that's well point taken by Eric, that the tool is paid for itself and then some.
So you had to put me down before actually giving me a compliment.
I don't think I gave you a compliment.
Okay.
Just want to make sure to make that clear. By the way, so many super chats today. So let's see what else we got here. Jacob Cook, power forward, pick one, Randall, Scotty Barnes, or Jaren Jackson Jr. It depends what site. For FanDuel, Jaren Jackson Jr. For DK, Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes also quite a bit more expensive. But how about for you? Barnes, Randall, or Jaren Jackson Jr.? And it seems like price isn't an issue here.
Yeah, generally the answer has been Randall, like every slate. Jaren Jackson Jr. makes sense too. Obviously, I'm playing him with the news breaking the way that I wanted it to, but now he's going to be exponentially more popular than what he was before. Scotty Barnes is still the best projection-wise, so there you go.
All right. The next question that we have is coming to us from Corey Shea. Is Najee Marshall in play? Yes, but I'm going to be underweight to him.
I have no Najee Marshall.
Yeah, I'll play him. I'm just not playing him as much as the field is.
I will not use a lineup spot on somebody that I have projected for 18 minutes with a ton of potential value coming up right after lock. I'm not playing Najee Marshall today. I want that known and on the record.
All right. I hope Eric wins a tournament with Najee Marshall somehow today.
But that's not going to happen because I'm going to have 0% of him. So,
all right.
Thanks for being malicious yet again. You're very mean.
We've got Curtis James. Oh, Curtis James in the YouTube chat now. So we just left us a super chat for $5. So Curtis, thank you for the super chat and congrats on the win last night. Do absolutely. Or just that might have been a couple of days ago now that he sent the message to us. But either way, love to see the success and keep it going. Keep it going, man. Next question that we have is going to be coming to us from Discord now. Captain Akella says that he nutted knowing that we were going to be back together tonight. Good to know. Good to know. Captain Akella also asked for a nuke of the night, but we've already covered the nuke of the night here. Next question.
My God.
Kenny Wayne. Any Bojan tonight on DK, Eric?
No.
Not a Bojan night. Mr. Coolcamp, pending the Lakers news, what players from the 7 p.m. Pelicans games are a must play on FanDuel? Ingram, Valanciunas. Those are the two that I would say are like absolute must plays on FanDuel. Like if you're building one lineup, you can't go without those two.
That is correct.
All right. Next question is from Chulumpus and Chickens.
What?
It's what his name is. Chulumpus and Chickens. He is asking us, perm dogs, what are the must plays at spend ups at each player's in value tonight? Okay, so spend ups, Brandon Ingram and Giannis.
Yes.
Value. Who are the value options you get the most of now?
Derrick Rose. Hello.
Fair. And let's see what the starting lineup ends up looking like there. Other value options like Dyson Daniels is another pretty strong one who I'm going to end up with more than I'd initially thought of. But yeah, he's somebody who stands out in a pretty significant way. And let's see what else we have for questions. Next question here is coming to us from Heflub. Josh Hart or Hartenstein for last minute on DK? Neither at this point.
Neither are remotely going to be in my lineups.
Neither. Next question is from JEW, getting in late. Any must-haves for single entry on DK and FanDuel? Derrick Rose, Jonas Valanciunas, Brandon Ingram.
Those sound good.
Next question here is from Tim Lee, who says, hello, tell Eric to calm down. Sometimes things are fine.
Fuck you.
Oh my God, that was very aggressive. And then he also wants to know our favorite players position by position. I'm doing one final run of my lineups, so I don't have the exact players in front of me at the moment. But like off the top of my head, point guard is Derrick Rose. Shooting guard, I'm trying to remember who I was getting to a lot of shooting guard. Probably Dyson Daniels. OG Anunoby was another one. Small forward, Brandon Ingram. Power forward, there was a handful of guys there as well. So power forward, Giannis on the high end. If you're going to be going a little bit cheaper, Herb Jones, power forward eligibility. Center, if for me, is going to end up being Valanciunas.
It's definitely Valanciunas for me.
Okay, we've got Einstein. I'm asking, who is my least favorite Raptor? And is Keynote George someone you're overweight to? So I assume that was Keon.
Keynote, that's so great. That's such a great autocorrect.
My least favorite Raptor. I mean, that's kind of hard to answer. Least favorite of the guys who's getting ownership? I don't know. Do you have a least favorite Toronto Raptor, Eric?
No, that's a weird way of phrasing it. I would say somebody who's projected for 0 minutes.
Okay. So Eric is going with somebody who's projected for 0
Otto
minutes.
Porter. There you go. I'm sure he'll. Out of the popular plays, I mean, out of the starters, we can maybe say it that way. Like, I'm just trying to think of the right way to like answer it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to answer that. Cream wants to know, in your opinion, do we think LeBron James starts or sits tonight? I have no fucking clue, and I don't know how it's taking this long to get the news.
Because they think they're getting a competitive advantage
against the Spurs. That's the only way to beat the Spurs is to bullshit whether LeBron and AD are playing. It's like, do you need a competitive advantage to beat the Spurs? Do you need a competitive advantage to beat the Pistons? Apparently the Lakers think so.
They apparently do.
Next question here is from Gang Green. Best play for $5,100 or less in the DK utility. $5,100 or less. Who's your guy in that price range, Eric?
100 or less. Go down, baby. No street in a Range Rover. Street sweeper, baby. Let it go. I mean, at the number 5K Hartenstein, but probably not going to be him. There's better plays, just way cheaper. Derrick Rose is the best projected player, 5,100 or below. I'm assuming you probably have him in your lineup. Then it becomes Dyson Daniels. So that's fun.
Zaire Williams is close. Here we got Tinsley, Roddy or Dyson 1v1. I prefer Dyson Daniels.
Same.
Next question. All right, got a set of lineups here.
Good.
Let me export these and upload them. How many Pelicans am I running in most lineups?
Many Pelicans.
Probably I'm assuming most of my lineups probably have 3 Pelicans if I had to guess.
I had to guess, same.
I could tell you for sure in a second here. Saving my lineups. Uploading them.
All right, I got mine. Yep, I got mine in just now. We'll take a look. So if LeBron and AD end up being out, who do we prioritize on LAL and San Antonio Spurs? Also, how do we feel about Dame tonight? FanDuel, GPP, and single entry. Eric Johnston, $9.99. We really appreciate you. So if LeBron and AD end up being out, the main thing you're paying attention to is who's in the starting lineup and who are we going to assume is going to play a bunch of minutes? Because even if Rui doesn't start, that's somebody that you pretty confidently are saying he's going to play a bunch of minutes. Austin Reeves, another guy that off the bench, don't really care. He was 50% owned yesterday off the bench. I think the same thing would probably exist here, even with the salary hike a little bit up. Guys like Max Christie, they'd be in play off the bench. I mean, there's just a question of they're not going to go to like Christian Wood in a lot of situations where LeBron and AD are in. If you get him out there in the starting lineup, I think at 5K, that's just somebody you entertain because we know he's a good fantasy point per minute guy. So lots of iterations of the Lakers where we just kind of want to be paying attention to what the starting lineup is and kind of piecing it together from there. As for Dame tonight, if you can get to Dame, awesome. 9,400. I have no problem going up against Halliburton, one of the worst defenders in the NBA, but obviously one of the more valuable players in the NBA as well. The game is going to roll. You need him to knock down shots, but I prioritize other guys just because we do have good value. I like getting to the absolute studs on the slate. Not that Lillard doesn't have a ceiling, but it's been pretty capped alongside one, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I've messed up, Eric. I clicked the wrong button, upload the CSV. I've much more Najee Marshall than I otherwise wanted to. We'll see. Maybe he has an okay game. I did not. Really
I ended up with 0%. I have 0% Najee Marshall.
I am jealous of you, sir. Yeah. Super chat from Corey Shea says PJ Washington or OG Anunoby. My preference is for OG Anunoby.
All right. I will say that's the nicest thing I've ever done. Just basically allowing you to, but it's fine. Whatever. Oh, everybody wants nuke number 2 now that we're at lock.
Are you ready for nuke,
yeah.
for nuke number 2?
Let's go. Fire it up, baby. I got the guy I was going to talk about.
All right. Hit us with it.
Oh, I thought we were going to get the graphic thing going, right?
No, we
have the thing go.
We got to play listen, Eric, we're only here for 90 minutes. It's very limited.
Deontay George, 6,200. The reason that I wanted to wait till lock is because straight out, now tell me, do you really want to love me forever? I was just saying that I knew, he did play the animation after all.
Kind of. It was like half hard. He got confused because you were like, play the animation. I told him not to. He didn't know which way to go. And then he knew that I was the boss and I overrule everybody. But here's the problem, Eric.
Okay.
The show is only 90 minutes.
Yeah.
We need to give people 90 minutes of basketball information. We can't just play the animation 10 times and that takes up, half the show. It's like one of the worst parts about watching TV is when you're watching something like that's episodic is you get the opening intro. Then you get the replay of what happened last week. Then you get the outro at the end. You get the replay or you get the preview what's going to happen next week. You break it down. It's like half the show we were watching stuff we don't give a shit about. Half the show is not new content. That we don't want that to be what the nuke of the night becomes. This is something that's near and dear to our hearts.
Hey, Jordan. Play the video one more time. Do it.
Please don't. So here we go. Eric, now that we're at lock, and have we gotten any of this?
No,
like no news at all. I'm looking for news. I'm looking for news about whether LeBron and AD are even warming up with the team.
I'm on Twitter. That's what I've been doing for like 15 minutes. I'm just trying to see what the hell is going on right now.
Questions that we've got in the Discord channel. Grown Simba wants to know, Eric, what was your exotic play of the day? I'll answer for him, Valanciunas.
Yeah, definitely J-Val. He's my highest home player on the slate.
Jets World, Caleb Martin a priority for DK Cash? For Cash, no.
No.
Do we get to all these now? All right, I think we've answered every question that came into Discord and all the super chats. There was a lot of them today. Thank you guys for the support, by the way. There was a lot of questions today. We did our best to get to everything. Nate D is saying LeBron is on the court.
Imagine looking for news when you have News God. Well, you could DM me, News God. You could let me know, News God. You could post it. Be great to have a photo of LeBron on the floor, but we love you.
All right. News God, are LeBron and AD warming up?
That's what I would like to know.
I'll look
every time I put in LeBron James, it's Colby Covington going off about talking about LeBron James.
But also, Did you see he pronounced his name wrong? You could tell that he had something that was pre-scripted in his head that he was going to say about LeBron, and he got very nervous about it. He hadn't rehearsed it enough or something. So he's kind of, you could see his hand is shaking a little bit. He's very nervous. You could hear it in his voice.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he calls him LeBron James, I think it was.
It's weird. What a weird human being. I do think he's going to beat the shit out of Leon Edwards over 5 rounds on Saturday, though.
Let's see.
5+ takedowns incoming. I think he ends up winning, but it's fine.
He called him LeBron James. LeBron James.
A weirdo. He is a weird human being.
Have any of the games tipped off yet?
No. That'd be too convenient. Obviously, we want to be tracking the Pelicans ad nauseum. Like, that's going to be the really fun sweat of this little feature we have here. Okay, the Hawks. What are we doing here with this middle starter that they keep switching? And it's always, of course, it's Garrison Matthews and Wesley Matthews, and they go back and forth between the two. But, like, what are we doing here? Wes Matthews starting here. I'm looking at a site that has it listed as Garrison Matthews. I think it's one of the funnier things in the NBA right now, because half the sites get it right, half the sites get it wrong. And it really doesn't matter, because Garrison Matthews and Wesley Matthews are such bad fantasy point per minute guys that for our purposes, it doesn't matter. But, like, I'm looking at 3 sites that have it listed as Garrison Matthews, but it is 100% today Wesley Matthews that's starting.
It is Wesley Matthews, and he will not be starting in my DFS lineups.
No, he will not. He is atrocious at the fantasy scoring thing.
Oh, I realized what I fucked up about my CSV now that I'm looking at it.
I'm nervous. What happened? What am I cheering for?
I'm cheering. Well, I'm still cheering for a lot of the Pelicans.
Okay.
So
what accidentally happened? I feel bad.
I'll explain it to you after, because it's
okay. It's too much. Too much.
I'll explain it after. So let's go ahead and make sure that there were no other questions. I thought I might have seen another super chat that came through. Where's the oh, here it is. The super chat section went away for a second. Here it is. Charles Moran asked us, FanDuel GPP, Love or Aldama, or a power forward 5,700 or under. So any power forward 5,700 or under.
Herbert Jones. He's locked.
Yeah.
Let's find something here. 5,700 or under. I mean, obviously the Lakers could change some of that here too.
I just think LeBron and AD are playing at this point. In fact, I think considering the game starts relatively soon, we really should have a discussion about whether we want to be looking at betting this game now, because that line I don't think has moved yet, which is fairly crazy to me.
It's kind of it's at 3 now.
Can you pull up, Jordan, can you pull up Odd Shopper? Let's just look to see if there's any books that are hanging. Like, what numbers are books hanging now?
3
I wonder if
was the main one.
if there's dissension amongst the books. If some are like, no, we think LeBron.
Oh, dude, that's my favorite. That happens in, I mean, obviously a sport like NBA, it's going to be far more volatile because, well, major pieces being in or out can change it so much. Like in the NFL, a player that's not a quarterback can only do so much. Like a quarterback is going to do it to the number, but yeah, I mean, 3 is the prevailing number now. So it's gone from 4.5 down to 3.
So we've got some 3.5s out there. 3 is definitely the consensus line. Oh, actually, no, 3.5 is the consensus line. If I'm looking, yeah, we've got Tipico is 3.5.
Yep, 3.5. 3 is at FanDuel though.
Okay,
Depends.
I don't mind it. Eric Lindquist. 3 points.
If you're that confident in it, because
no,
I mean,
I'm not confident. Here's what I think. Then
it was 4.5 when we started the show. If that
I think that
counts.
LeBron and AD, even if they both are, even if they're both out, right? Both these guys sit. I don't think that having the Lakers -3, I don't think it would be the end of the world without LeBron and AD. But it's clear value if even one of them plays, it's clear value. I don't mind it.
I don't mind it either. I think you're onto something there, wise one.
And by the way, if you guys want to sign up at Odd Shopper, use the link below. Promo code Greg or promo code Lindy is going to get you 20% off when you sign up for the first time. Get access to us in Discord. You get access to the expert picks, which both live in Discord as well as on the Odd Shopper site. And then you also get our plus EV betting model. So you see some of the bets that we've tagged throughout the day. But then also you do get access to the plus EV bets page. So if you go to the plus EV bets over there, Jordan, you guys will see that we are going to be getting to, Jordan changes his location. All the bets that we're projecting well for the day as Jordan is hurrying to click on stuff over there. So you also get the parlay builder, you get the prize picks entry builder. So something for everybody over at Odd Shopper. It's less than $50 and you get 20% off when you sign up for the first time. Promo code Greg or promo code Lindy. Anything about your lineups that you didn't expect to happen heading into lock that is different than what you ended up wanting?
Not the way it did for you, apparently. I have Clint Capella, and I haven't been playing much Clint Capella. I've been playing Okongwu quite a bit. This feels like the Clint Capella spot. Like, I don't know. Jakob Poeltl on the other side is going to pull some ownership, and I think he's a decent enough play. I know the Sims loved him today. I think he's a pretty awesome guy to get to at 5,500. But you're going to get a true center out there, and it feels like Clint Capella is getting a little bit underutilized. 13% ownership coming in there. That's really cheap, 6,200 for a guy that I think should be on the floor more. I mean, I guess we're just so used to seeing this rotation work out the way that it does, where Capella plays the lion's share. Okongwu can play himself when they get down. He got to 28 minutes against Denver because they try to have him out there and come from behind modes. But I mean, this is one that's a pretty close spread. I think Clint Capella is somebody that I'm kind of getting myself behind a little bit here. I don't know. That's a weird one to me that he was actually showing up in lineups for me because I pretty much never play Clint Capella.
For myself, I'm getting to a lot of LeBron right now.
Get it?
Which I don't mind. For a couple of reasons. Number one, if he plays, he's got a pretty good matchup against the Spurs. It's also not all that hard to alter our lineups and take him out if he ends up sitting.
Yeah, you need the money, but we have some lineup spots to allocate over there. We've got, a couple of studs. If he's in your utility, 9,700 can turn into 9,400 Dame real quick. You could go up to Giannis at the position if you have another lineup spot. It should be easy to kind of mix and match some of these pieces together.
See if we had any other questions that came into the Discord channel. And we do have one right here. This is from Trouble 35.
One thing that would really piss me off is if one of them plays and the other one sits, and then I jam the other guy, and it's going to be wonky, I think, no matter what.
We've got Trouble 35. How much Noel will ruin Christmas? How much
more
Noel?
Than 40% Noel.
I don't know what it depends if he starts or not.
Correct. If he starts, I'm going to play a lot of him.
If he comes off the bench, you don't really want to play him much.
I don't want to play him at all if he comes off the bench.
So it's a little hard to say. How much? If he starts, load up on him.
Yep. Pretty much that.
And all right, we are caught up on questions in Discord. We've got nothing else to answer here in the super chats either. So we're finally all square. It took us like an hour to get back. Oh, never mind. Chris Williams gifted out 5 YouTube memberships to people in the YouTube chat. Chris, we appreciate you. Our friend from Apple, Chris Williams. Thank you for supporting the channel. Anybody else who wants to support the channel, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And I want to go ahead and check, see if there's any overlaid owners box. There's been a good amount of overlay over there as of late. And yeah, their flagship contest tonight, Eric, only about halfway full right now. And they move lock back. They move lock back 30 minutes for us. So 16 minutes until their slate locks. Jordan, can we build some lineups really quick for owners box in the Sims tool? Because if there are people who want to chase some of the overlay over there, and by the way, there's a link to sign up for owners box below in the description box. You get a deposit bonus of up to $500 when you sign up. Let's just give people some players they could build lineups around. So build lineups for owners box, and they'll build some lineups for showdown tonight as well for the main showdown slate. Have any of these games tipped off? Yeah. Oh my God. Eric, our Pelicans are not looking good to start.
Yeah, I saw the score. It was bad.
They're down 14-4. 2 minutes. How do you give up 14 points in 2 minutes to the Washington Wizards?
Well, the
Wizards.
I don't know what you just said, but it was awesome.
Wizards.
Wizards. It's like drunk like them. I don't know. You're not. It's not great, Bob. Not great. Kyle Kuzma. How about Denny Avdia breaking the slate with 6-4-3 in 3 minutes? What is that? What is that stat line?
It's a good one, unless you're like us and probably didn't play Kyle Kuzma.
No, Denny Avdia, 6-4-2.
Oh, I thought you said Kuzma was off to a big start.
No.
He is. Kuzma has 6 points. Yeah. Denny Avdia is scoring what? Avdia is scoring 6 fantasy points per minute tonight.
Is that good? Seems good.
I think most of his games the entire year he hasn't scored as many fantasy points as he has in the first 2 minutes of this game.
Probably true.
Crazy start there.
Herb Jones, 1 for 5 from the field. What are we doing here, bro? Just play defense on the other end on that Denny Avdia guy, please.
Got a super chat that just came in from Chris Albers. Noel and Rose in play tonight. Rose for sure. Noel most likely, but still want to see that starting lineup for the Grizzlies tonight. So if Noel starts, for sure. I don't love Noel if he comes off the bench though.
Did Dyson Daniels just shoot that from the logo? Why? What are we doing? Oh, it must have been shot clock was going down. Yep, there it was.
We've got some lineups up here for owners box. You guys are looking to chase the overlay. The slate is only about halfway full. I looked at it a second ago. The slate, it's a 19 entry tournament. They're 1,900 entries for the flagship tournament, only 1,100 entries when it is checked about a minute ago there. Let me see if that's still the case for owners box. It is at 1,200 now, but either way, lots of potential overlay there. So let's just give people a heads up here where some core plays to consider. If you're going to build lineups on owners box, this is what our Sims tool likes. Let's go position by position. There's only 2 of them. There's backcourt players and the front court players. So Jordan, go with the guards here. Filter by the guards, and we'll see what shows up. And then we will go and check the front court players. So in the backcourt, we're getting to Derrick Rose, Terry Rozier, Malik Beasley, Bogdan Bogdanovic. Do you think the Bogdanovics hate each other?
No. I'm pretty positive they don't.
What makes you say that?
I don't know. They just seem like nice, orderly people that would never do such things. I don't know why you would paint them in that corner like that.
If there was somebody in DFS whose name was Eric Lindquist, wouldn't he be like, fuck this guy, I need to be better than him?
But that's like the full name. This is like just last names.
Eric with an A. His name is Eric.
Oh, then that's annoying and he should die.
But that's the same Bojan versus Bogdan Bogdanovic.
No, it's different. Bojan Bogdan, pretty easy. I think you need to be.
So the guy's name is Eric, but it's spelled Arick.
Okay, that's actually really awful. I don't like it.
I'm telling you, I think that's how Bojan and Bogdan feel about each other.
I don't think they do.
Pay up option, we are getting to Tyrese Halliburton, about a third of our lineups here at guard, and there's some Damian Lillard as well. Let's go to the front court now, Jordan. Let's see what we're getting to in the forward/center spots. Caleb Martin, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Isaiah Hartenstein, Scotty Barnes, Sadiq Bey, Brooke Lopez. So we're getting to a good amount of exposure to that Milwaukee, Indiana game over on Owner's Box. So if you guys are looking to build some Owner's Box lineups really quickly, those are some players you could look at to get your lineups in there and take advantage of some overlay. Bobby Bees has asked us a 2v2 question. LeBron and Caleb Martin or Giannis and Hartenstein? If LeBron ends up playing, he is going to be one of the most under-owned players on the entire slate at this point.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. Oh, Charles super chat? Yeah, okay. Yeah, we answered this one before. He asked, love Aldama or a 5,700 or under power forward. So still waiting on the starting lineup, but I'm going to go with Aldama. I think Eric's answer before was Herb Jones, but that ended up being invalid because he is
currently playing no basketball.
Yeah.
Busy trolling us right now. And are you kidding me right now with this score? 18-4, Kyle Kuzma pulling up from deep and just making a fool of us.
Are we going to get cucked by Brandon Ingram?
Not as hard as Ian Gary.
He's not going to the press conference. Did you see that?
I did. That was hilarious to me. I was like, this poor bastard. Also, another Covington video that was pretty funny. That was pretty funny. Ian Cuck Gary. I was like, oh no, this poor guy. He's like a minus 300 favorite, and I'm constantly like, or minus 350, and I'm like contemplating betting Luque just because I'm like, I feel like this would bother me. I'm like, I'm about to bet a guy because of emotional turmoil that somebody has to be feeling if they're just skipping press conferences and shit.
Tokyo Swan saying, did he really take his wife's ex-husband's last name?
Sure did.
He did do that. He did do that, which is something that is drawn
unbelievable.
It has drawn the ire of the MMA community. Now, he did try to do it. The intention is because he wanted to have the same last name as what his stepdaughter has. So he did it for good reasons, and now he's just going to get called a cuck by MMA fans for the next 10 years. Because he tried to be a good person. He's like, I want to feel my daughter feel included. And then everyone's like, you fucking cuck. That's all he's going to hear for the rest of his career.
This poor bastard. And here's the thing. I think he's a little bit overrated. Like, the more that I've watched him and like started to get into MMA, I think he will fight somebody with power, like actual power in the hands, and he is going to get knocked the fuck out. He fights really, like, he's got good boxing, but not good defensive boxing. And he is going to get hit really, really hard by somebody and get put out in the first round, and you're not going to see it coming. I don't know if Luque is necessarily that guy, but I mean, there's obviously something that he's going through here. And if you're feeling a little bit wobbly early, I mean, this might be just a good live betting opportunity on Luque. Somebody in YouTube chat brought it up. Nick Oster has said the Asian dude almost slept him. Yeah, that was not Jordan Klein that he's talking about, but it was Song Kanan. Song Kanan, who was like a second away from finishing Ian Gary in the first round when they fought against each other. And Song Kanan is not good at all. But all that aside, let's go ahead and see what we have, because I see we got a super chat here. We've got a super chat coming to us from Orion. Orion is asking us for a FanDuel GPP, Lowry and Anunoby, or Keontae George and Duncan Robinson. I'm going to say Lowry and Anunoby. Don't like the Lowry side. I like Keontae George today. I don't think he's being properly owned I know we get Lauri Markkanen back in, but Jordan Clarkson out is such a big deal. And I feel like nobody is projecting this correctly to me. Just looking around the industry, I think we did a pretty good job. I think he's more playable on with our tools than other places, but I like the Keontae George side, but I'm probably with you. Lowry and Anunoby. Anunoby's such a good piece today.
Final one more guess here. Game locks in 39 minutes. LeBron and AD, do they play or sit?
God, I have no idea anymore. This is just so annoying. I'm going to say they both play at this point. I'm probably with you now.
It's the dumbest thing ever, because this is a rest situation. It's a rest situation.
Yeah, they already know. We don't. That's the annoying part.
Questionable. I know they've got injuries on the injury report. LeBron, it's a calf. AD, it's an adductor injury. And I will say this, at least AD was clearly hurt last night. He started the game absolutely on fire. And then in the second quarter, towards the tail end of it, he gets banged up. He goes into the locker room early. He was kind of limping up and down the court for the rest of the game. He's still super talented, and he was actually making jump shots, which he hasn't done in a couple of years. So he's able to be effective that way, but he was clearly not 100%. So maybe for him, it's more legitimate where he actually has to warm up to see how he feels. LeBron, though, to me, it's just he's resting. Whether they're trying to figure out whether they want to rest or not.
This Najee Marshall thing is so tilting because, again, these guys are checking in so early into this game. Murphy already checked in. Alvarado, Marshall came in now here at the 6-minute mark. If you played bench Pelicans, you're going to be in really, really good shape. Oh, I just get that feeling.
I did by accident.
That's cool. Congratulations to you on being such a skilled DFS player.
LeBron is out. Okay, so there we go. LeBron is out. Where's the AD?
Anthony Davis will play. Are you kidding me?
All right, so AD in, LeBron out.
Oh my God.
All right, so and Vanderbilt in as well. So a couple of notes here.
God.
We're jamming LeBron now, are we not?
Not LeBron. He's out.
I mean AD.
I hate you, Lakers. You guys are idiots. You knew you were going to do this the entire time, and you just didn't tell us. And now Eric Gordon's ruled out, and that doesn't apply to me yelling, but it's not really going to change anything. But what are we doing? Why can we not get that news? And LeBron James, this is your 21st year in the league. Don't you want to make a good name? Don't you understand the way that your sport is going, that you should want us to care about your product? Because eventually you want to be an owner, right? Right? That's what you want. Give us clarity. We don't care about your little mind games. Are you figuring out shit or yada, 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 yada? Just give us the information so we can do stuff with it and everybody's happy, okay?
Colby Covington was right. Let me play the video.
Play the video. It'd be amazing if you could curate to it. All right, so what are we going to play? What are we going to do? We're going to play some Austin Reeves. We're going to play whoever that fifth starter ends up being. Chimezie Metu will remain in the starting lineup. Are you kidding me? I didn't even have him in the rotation today. What?
Did that come through the microphone, by the way? Ah, damn, it was Colby. It was Colby Covington. I was able to really quickly click out him just saying, fuck you, LeBron James. You're a coward and you're a bitch. And I was hoping it would come through the microphone, but apparently it didn't.
It didn't, but you said it nicely. Oh, gosh. All right, so we have 5 minutes to get this done. Let's get this done. We got to get some lineups updated very, very quickly.
We've got a question in the super chats here from Chris Albers. Wants to know, are Martin Robinson and Love in the same lineup all okay? No, I wouldn't play that many Heat, especially now that we've got all these Lakers guys we want to be playing.
Yep. All right. Priority list for Lakers right now. Anthony Davis, you want to be getting to him. He's power forward center. He's going up against a twig. It's going to be really fun to watch. I'm excited to watch this basketball game when we get out of here, just because, like, I don't know, AD's been on another planet lately anyway, and now we get this opportunity. I think Rui Hachimura, your boy, 4,900, there's a very good chance he ends up in the starting lineup here alongside these other guys. We don't have it yet because, God forbid, we get news about things. It's fine. I think Taurean Prince, 4,500, is at least all right, but Austin Reeves is the main other guy. Shooting guard, small forward is such a major positionality thing. You have such popular Toronto pieces. I still think you want to get to a lot of them, but I would be making room to get to some Austin Reeves in your life. It's a very good chance that he gets in a competitive spot against the Spurs up to 34-ish minutes, and that is really, really good here. Anything else that you really want to be playing? Because there's nothing else that's like a quote-unquote priority for me. And we don't have the Memphis starting lineup either. This is a disaster.
This is very annoying. Well, here's what I'm going to do to start. I'm going to downgrade. All right, I'm going to pull my lineups up in the late swap tool because I'm just going to downgrade some of the exposure I have to Raptors guys. Right? I think that's the easiest quick fix.
Yes, it is. That is the quick fix.
Right? So we'll downgrade the Raptors guys, and that is going to give us the flexibility to hopefully have a little bit more space for Lakers guys when we get that starting lineup here shortly. That's what I think we should do right now. We only got a few minutes to go. I'm going to do that real quick in the late.
All right. Grayson Allen, Okogie out. Like, does Metu become somebody that we should be getting to right now?
Well, he's starting again.
I know he is. That's what I'm saying.
Probably
4,200.
But you got Booker, Beal, and Durant. There's just
like
not
23, 25 minutes the last two. And I mean, he's 4,200. I know that there's better value, but like, he might get artificially bumped because he played well yesterday. I don't know.
Corey Shea is asking us Anthony Davis or Wembanyama. That is Anthony Davis now.
Anthony Davis for sure.
That is Anthony Davis.
I'm going to boost some Rui and get that into my life too, just to have it as a placeholder, because I'd be pissed if I didn't have the ability to make way for him here. Get all of the LeBron out. I had quite a bit of LeBron now that I'm looking back on it.
Yeah,
seems to like LeBron.
I had 27% of LeBron before.
Yeah, he was a good play. Now he's a bad play.
Yeah. Somebody asked before, right? Somebody wanted to know if they should play LeBron. We said no if he doesn't play. Now he knows.
Now I can't make fun of you for your response.
What if he was going to play?
Correct. That would have been bad.
Let me make sure
Son
there
of a
weren't any other
biscuit.
questions in the Discord that we missed. I think we're all caught up there. As far as the YouTube, I'm just going to really quickly go in and see what it is that people are bringing up there. And all right, let's just lower OG Anunoby.
I'm just trying to get to as many of I'm just artificially boosting Memphis guys and doing that, and they're making their way into more lineups than anything else. Like that's my quick fix for it right now. I'm just leaving salary on the table, the ones I really want to rotate through here.
All right. What do my lineups look like? I'll tell you what, Eric. I've got absolutely no clue. No clue. I just ran my lineups through the late swap tool, did a really quick negative ROI boost to the players who were about to lock, so I wouldn't get quite as much of them. And yeah, from here, we'll end up seeing what the lineups look like in a little bit, because this is interesting.
This is Cuckville. This is a joke.
Well, Eric, the game is locked. The game is locked 7:30. So now it's time for us to put in some work and update our lineups and hopefully get a starting lineup from the Lakers and some other teams as well. Guys, if you haven't done it yet, do us a favor. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you very much for watching today and sticking with us for the last 90 minutes. Tomorrow, going to be back with another NBA Live Before Lock, NFL Live Before Lock. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. Have a good night, everybody.